Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the GLL Masters Spring. It's time to get started with day number 2 for South America. My name is Blue. Joining me here on the cast once again is going to be Stokes. How you feeling today, man?
Man, I am so excited for today, John. So much action in front of us. We had so many amazing games yesterday. I'm excited to get back into it.
Definitely the case, and we're going to be starting off by taking a quick look at the standings that we had leading into today's matches. We already played 8 games yesterday. Now we're going to play 8 more today. Here's where we currently stand after the first half of the final has been played out. Paradox Esports currently in number 1 as they have been absolutely dominating the series here so far, and that's not an understatement. They have won literally half of our games, and you can see that they have 70 points from placement, on top of leading us in the kills department by over 10 frags as well at 56.
Yeah, and while we do have Paradox at the top, some amazing stuff from them yesterday, we also have some tragic stories here as well, like our friends over at Fake Love Black in 9th place. Not able to truly play inside of the first 3 matches yesterday. They rebound back into 9th place to make it into this top 10 and actually try and contend for what could possibly be a top 5 finish. We'll just have to see, but a lot of action that could happen with our 8 matches today.
Going to see if they'll be able to work their way into that, as of course all these standings here with 8 more games, there's plenty more opportunities for our teams to make impact. You can see, of course, the winners of the 8 games that were played out yesterday, as well as the schedule for the upcoming games today. We'll be starting out with the 9th match here as soon as we hit the hour, which means we should just be starting in a couple of moments, and we'll roll right through the back half of these matches to figure out who our true winner is going to be. Will Paradox be able to run the gauntlet yet again and pick up another 4 wins, or will another team, whether it's Phoenix Dynamics or possibly someone else, will they step up to the plate and try to steal the crown away that seems almost assuredly so be going to Paradox? And what exactly is Paradox and the rest of our teams fighting for today? Well, the lion's share of $5,000 that's up for grabs here in South America. We've got $100,000 available for the entire circuit globally here. $2,500 going to be going to first place, $1,000 to second, $700 to third, and $500 for our 4th and 5th place finishes. Or excuse me, $300 for our 5th place finish.
A pretty penny for quite a few of these squads, and that's why the top 5 is so dang important to all of these guys. We still have half the matches left, ladies and gentlemen, so very exciting stuff to be playing for and a lot of action still to have. But John, so much drama yesterday, I would say. I mean, so many great finishes from Paradox, especially. I think that was the only constant that we truly had. What was the action that you were really, looking forward to seeing today as opposed to yesterday?
Well, hopefully we're going to be able to see Fake Love Black step up first of all. For those who didn't catch the last ALGS series inside of the South American region, they were able to take the crown on that one. And that was after winning 2 of the matches at the end of the previous series they played in also. So we'll see if they're going to be able to make a run back like that today, as they had some very unfortunate technical issues at the beginning of the matches yesterday, which stopped them from getting onto the scoreboard early on. Despite that, and despite, I think, 2 last place eliminations, they're still sitting at 9th place right now. So hopefully we're able to see them and a couple of our other teams which have failed to make impact, but we know they've been able to make impact in the past, step up to the plate today, maybe step up on the rankings a little bit as well.
Yeah, I am personally very interested in Phoenix One's future. We saw quite a few fantastic games from them yesterday. Today, I'm hoping to see them more as one of those constants that we continue to see throughout the matches. Ran into a little bit of trouble early on in some of their matches yesterday where they just could not find those finishes or any placement points, and that's really what hindered them and knocked them down to that 2nd place. We just continually saw Paradox inside of that top 5, and on top of that, finding those kills on rotation as well as their third parties, just so very strong.
Some other notable teams to talk about that we saw playing yesterday as well include Loyalty, who you guys are going to see in-game running the OnlyFans tags for some reason. Not sure what's going on there, but either way, just to identify them. Those guys were playing pretty aggressively for the most part too, due to their landing spot, forcing them to move around the map relatively quickly early on. And because of that, we were seeing them get into a lot of earlier fights. And they're not the only team with that sort of play style as well, but obviously pretty risky trying to get that aggressive. So we were seeing a bit more of a mixed bag results for them. But I think as we got towards the end of the day, they were a pretty consistent finisher, at least inside of our top 10, as well as a pretty consistent place in our top 5 as well from time to time.
Well, speaking of consistency, I want to go to a little bit more of a drastic measure that we saw yesterday in some gameplay. We got to talk about casual gamers for a second. These guys were all over everyone. We saw so many octane plays. I mean, for me personally, I thought that this was some of the most action packed stuff that we saw, minus Elite BR getting hopped on and then that amazing rotation coming in. But I believe that they were part of that as well, if I do remember. So.
Yeah, Elite BR is another squad where we had pretty high hopes for them, considering the results from the last ALGS Cup inside of South America, seeing what they were able to pull off from there, and hoping that they'd be able to do the same here inside of this bracket as well. But unfortunately, have failed to make any serious impact, save for maybe 1 to 2 matches where we saw them show up towards the end and finally able to make that impact that they have been looking to try and get inside of these games here. But all that could potentially change today. We've already mentioned it many, many times here, folks. We've got the same number of games that we played out yesterday. That means the same number of opportunities for points for all of our teams. Could change a lot of teams' fate to get started out with a good win here today. Paradox as well. We're going to be paying close attention to them, as well as Phoenix, who is now struggling behind Paradox's position in second place as they try to see if they can also rebound couple more wins, as they also have 2 out of the 8 games from yesterday, and as such are the closest to try to catch Paradox here and take that first place crown.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're going to have them under a microscope as well, as that lead is just so large at this point. It's going to take quite a few mistakes from them to actually throw this away. Just with how consistent they were yesterday, it's just very dangerous as to what they could do today. For Phoenix One, again, it's up in the air. You know, there's a big difference inside of the prize pool here. How do they try and rebound back? How do they try and find this consistency? That's a really big question on the plate for them. But we also have that for third place as well for our guys over on Fenrir. They haven't been playing the greatest as of late, but a couple of those last games they were able to rebound and it just looked so strong coming into those, had some consistent finishes. I think they could honestly be in contention here.
We saw the big thing with Fenrir too is, and we talked about this yesterday a little bit, is the fact that they have a pretty hot drop location going for Skyhook West, and that is right in the middle of a solid like 3 to 4 other squads with indefinite line of sight to to their position as well. So they're in a constant kind of battle right from the beginning of the game. Should they choose to jump into it? And while that didn't work out too well for them in some of our earlier matches, they've slowly been fighting from the back of the pack. And as Stokes said, there has made enough of an impact to push themselves up into third place with some of our final matches that we played out yesterday. So they're in contention for this one as well. And we're going to have to see if they continue to improve their performance in some of the first games of the day. The big thing that a team is going to have to try and do here if they want to be able to get the best of Paradox right now has to be on the positioning front. So many of the games that Paradox won were won primarily off of really early positioning that they took and just never gave up. And more importantly, never lost a battle trying to defend those positions from either. We think the map in Geyser, where they had to hold in the center of the complex in one small building and were able to fend off 3 to 4 squads. High ground situations where they were getting closed in on near trials and they were able to fend off people because of the fact that they had uncontested high ground control. A lot of rounds going like that, making Paradox the surefire winner in so many of those final circles. Other teams are going to have to try and challenge that in some way if they want to best Paradox, should they go up against them in those situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Just such a dynamic team that is really, really strong inside of pacing as well as just understanding this BR in and out, really playing those buildings to a T. And I think that match 8 honestly highlighted that the best. That was the probably the best way to ice the cake, I would say, as of yesterday. And I'm sure we more than likely have that in the highlight reel or somewhere for you guys. So be on the lookout for that. But moving on down the line, let's talk about somebody that we saw earlier in the day that could come back in a big way. Dynamics. Now, Dynamics, we saw them with Jupe, Crimin, and Sheikah as of yesterday. Actually, not Sheikah, excuse me. It was Aimbot Machine yesterday. And these guys had such a strong start, but just started to falter around match 3, especially match 5 being pretty poor for them, but starting to rebound inside of match 7 and throughout the rest of our day. But finally, we're on to a fresh start. How do you feel about these guys coming into this?
I think the big problem that they've been running into in yesterday's matches was their rotations. From what I was able to catch, obviously a lot of action going on, so
Mhm.
only kind of catching glimpses of them from time to time. Since, like we said, they kind of drifted off of our radar after that third game. but it seemed as though they were getting caught a lot on their rotations, either engaging in fights for too long and getting third party, or just in general jumping into fights or being forced into fights where they really don't have the cover necessary to play that out properly and look for a win. And that led to a lot of early eliminations. And I think a lot of eliminations where they weren't able to actually make impact on the kill department either. So hopefully they're going to have better luck with that today, better movement and better positioning. That's definitely the name of the game for me for a lot of these teams, is not getting caught out in bad spots here and being able to establish strong positioning early so that they're able to capitalize on that as the circles really come to a close there at the end.
Yeah, it seems like with World's Edge especially, it's all about placement, placement, placement. Where are you? Are you avoiding that low ground? We saw so many squads, like we were talking about earlier with Elite BR, find themselves in that kind of peril, and almost no one truly making out of it unless they have building coverage. We did have a couple of circles yesterday, though, that did end in more of a flat ground area, so we could have that come back, but we had them pretty split, excuse me, between Geyser as well as Skyhook and that sort of area. Nothing truly going towards the bottom of the map, so we'll more than likely or could possibly see some squads start to favor those types of areas.
All right, guys. Well, we should be just a couple seconds away from getting started with the map here. Like we said, it's 8 more games that need to be played out today, and this is cumulative score that's being collected between yesterday and today. So the top among all 16 of these games is going to be taking home that $2,500, as well as all the other prizing to go with it. But let's get started, ladies and gentlemen. It's our first match of the day, match 9 out of 16 of this series. We'll start off with Paradox, since they're our current leading squad and the most recent winner from game number 8. Let's see if they can pull it off for a 5th time inside of this series.
And they're going to be coming back in with the exact same lineup. And you can't blame them, Blue. I mean, they won all of yesterday with this. Why change things up now?
Yeah, definitely the case here. So they'll go right for the train tracks. Plenty of loot to be found here, but we'll check out the map here in just a second, see where the rest of our teams are going to be landing as well. And more importantly, if we'll have any conflict between these squads. Now that the last ones are landing up in the north by Skyhook, everything looks pretty much the way it's been going the past couple of games. I don't know if you've noticed anything else standing out there, Stokes, but besides Invictus going up to the north for a loot from Lava City, which I think is still kind of in the plan book here for loyalty, everything looks pretty much the same that we've had over the past 8 games.
Yeah, for the most part here. I don't see truly anyone contesting anything. We don't have another tree contention. That's a good thing. We don't have any
Yeah,
early fights
that was a
down there.
weird one.
Yeah, that was a very weird one. And we still have our friends up inside of Trials. So, yeah, as you said, everything seems right by my eye.
So we'll check in on some of these teams here in a moment. That's actually, oh man, that circle as well. Look at how much of it just cuts completely off the map entirely. That's really going to start to crunch some of these teams in very early on. But I mean, look at who sits right in the middle of the circle, though, and has positioning to play off of already. It's Paradox. Almost no surprise. This seems to have been going their way so often. And once again, they're going to be smack dab in the middle of the first circle here.
Yeah, and this is actually going to be our first circle that we've had inside of this entire grand final that will end on Thermal Station. We haven't had anything in the lower half of the map. It's truly just been Geyser in the top left area, ending in Trials and near Skyhook. So a lot of these squads are now going to be pressured to rotate across the map and not play the area that they found favorable early on, where they had strong positioning. This is actually going to be a really big start to the day. This is something where we haven't seen a lot of these squads have to change up their game plan.
Well, let's see, of course, if either of these squads are going to run into each other. An aimbot machine from Dynamics, as well as his other 2 teammates, going to go for a quick redeployment down to the inside of the circle, looking to probably get themselves over towards Thermal Station a little bit more quickly here, especially if they have themselves a legend that can access the survey beacons, which I would assume they do. They're going to have that info pretty early on here. They should have been able to scan 2 of them by now, netting them the info that we're going to be working towards Thermal Station. And they definitely seem to have that info in their book, as well as quite a few of the other teams, as now there's a bit of a mad scramble to work your way into the circle since it's so drastically down to the southwest.
Oh, looks like we could have fake love here instead of fragment with a possible engagement with singularity. Have some possible early deaths coming through for either of them, and that would be a bad start today for both. So gonna have a possible disengagement. We'll have to get on board with them later on. We're here with Dynamics, our first match winner from yesterday, and they're gonna be sticking to the game plan as well. No Bloodhound here for them, riding with Crypto.
Seen Crypto used quite a bit on the inside of this region, primarily for the obvious reasons of his drone being an
I have an
excellent
extended sniper
scouting
mag
tool
here.
to try and
Level
work
2.
forward, as well as that EMP
Target
being
over there.
useful for so many initiations, as we've seen
Hostile spotted.
time and time again over the 8 games that were already played out yesterday. They're going to have some intruders working their way, and it looks to be Paradox as well. So, wow, right on the number. That EMP going to come out just as I was talking about it, and possibly forcing us into our very first fight. Paradox trying to hold on to a defensive position yet again on the inside of this two-story, being challenged quite aggressively, forcing out a lot of usage of mats here, as we're going to see cells and batteries going off like crazy, trying to keep themselves at full HP in the event their opponents decide to really jump on them here. You can see, of course, Dynamics doesn't really want to have a piece of this. Paradox just being forced out from that position, and two other squads instead, on top of Dynamics now firing in from range, keeping that pressure onto Paradox.
Oh, this is a big problem now. So many squads centralized here. Although Paradox did get some distance, so won't be in nearly as much trouble as they once were. So we saw another EMP go down as well, so they had to bat back up, but everything's fine as of late. Flying high, update with them, seeing what they or at least looking like yesterday. It looks like they're going to be sticking to more of the same game plan. I believe we had Wolf play some Wraith games yesterday as well. So switching up onto the Octane. But oh no, as you said, very unfortunate bounce into the EMP. They're going to lose some shields for that, but it seems like they rebound pretty quickly.
Yep, still able to take pretty much full control of this building without anyone being in the way of that. So they'll have full control over this map, part of the map, I should mean, now. But they will have to be careful. Obviously, you got people right next to you. We already talked about how this is an incredibly claustrophobic circle. Not a lot of cover to work with here, and players are going to want to fly for it very quickly. And that's going to be
Oh.
Tempest hopping in almost right on cue yet again there with the death protection, trying to get aggressive against one of these squads.
And Tempest, a squad that did not have the best finishes yesterday. They're trying to rebound here, and it all starts now. But flying high, just so much damage from behind the counter and the high ground here. The stair angle just not assisting like the Revenant thought it would. And now flying high, backing off the opponents. So they'll be able to bat right back up, have those full shields, and they have multiple ultimates to be able to handle this situation as well. Definitely in the power position as of right now.
Neo here seeing the scan, trying to suss out where exactly the Bloodhound that's sent it is positioned at right now, but not really able to lock that down as of yet. It's going to be Loyalty up on the cliffside behind this big building right now. We do have flying high with control over. In the meantime, we have had
Oh
our first
no.
squad get fully eliminated. It's without name that's gone down. Other than that, though, all 19 of the remaining squads still have all 3 players up, meaning we've got a lot of full team fights coming up over the next few moments, especially as this first and second circle start to close out and really restrict the map presence for all the remaining 19 teams. Dynamics in another fight here, possibly about to wipe out the second squad, as it's going to be Team Brave Soldiers losing Lukey right off the bat here. The other two so far not yet been seen in this engagement, but we'll catch up with that in a moment.
Unfortunate loss there for TBS is that that's their mainstay fragger. Picking up a lot of KPs yesterday for the squad, and he'll be sorely missed. We'll see if they can rebound with a possible banner grab, but it's going to be pretty risky, especially with the amount of squads in the area. As you can see,
Oh
the
my
amount
goodness.
of congestion right now inside of thermal stations. So many fights popping off. I'm sure there's multiple teams right now really biting for space on all of these buildings. That's the problem with this area, Blue. Not as many buildings as the city area of Skyhook. So when they're pressuring into thermal station, lots of open fights, lots of different engagements. Alpha Intelligence with their own problems, but they'll be able to get Scanner back up. He's been down previously, but now EMP's in. Zro in some trouble of his own, but he'll be able to get at least a sellout for his troubles, but not before Bucks can be able to come and assist him.
So that's Team Brave Soldiers now wiped off the board. Our second squad to be eliminated. They're going to get 18th place on the inside, or excuse me, 19th place, I think, technically, on the inside of this first game of the day. Definitely not the way they would have wanted to start out, but we'll see if they can increase the impact. Team Brave Soldiers, like I said, a team that yesterday we were seeing try to get themselves into fights, really trying to vie for map control and get into these fights here, grab those extra KPs, but unfortunately, really have not been able to translate that, as they've been on the losing side of fights that either they've taken or they've been forced into, as we just saw right there, far too many times when compared to them actually winning those fights.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been a big problem, as you said, for them. But I think that it's something that they can possibly fix, especially given the results from yesterday. It's just unfortunate that this day starts off with a circle that was so much different from the one previously. Just really didn't assist them on the rotate. But we'll have to see if they can possibly have some better finishes later on today. But now jumping on board with Loyalty, getting an update here with them. Seems like a crypto EMP out, as well as a Gibraltar bombardment going down, but they haven't engaged just yet. This has just been mostly distancing and looking for some control here. And Loyalty have loads of it, using the Gibby shield to really rain down fire on these guys, and so much damage right now, Blue.
Definitely a lot of pressure trying to keep these players in the open, keep them uncomfortable, more than likely keep them exposed as well, allowing for Loyalty to possibly pick up an easy kill, especially after this Gibby shield is going to fade, as we're seeing right now. Bloodhound scan comes in. As we switch back over to another fight, though, we're going to take a look at anti-social aimers. A lot of nade pressure coming onto them on the inside of this bunker they've set up for themselves. That Arc Star going to do serious work here, slows down Novak, rips the shields off Kalef as well. Turo not in the greatest state here either. They've got an incendiary to hold back the line, but the problem is Kalef was engaged in the fight on the front lines there. He ends up going down. They try to hold it back after the flood comes in, but it can't be done. Phoenix team wiped them out and are already back to picking up frags left and right, just like they were yesterday.
New day, same team here for Phoenix, as they're starting off strong, trying to get these KP stacked early, but they're gonna have to try and build a lead here. Good news is now for them is they've stacked up on the shields, all on pinks now, and that means that they can try and get as many mats off these death boxes as possible and re-engage here. Lots of squads still around this area as well for them, and Loyalty up on the hillside and possibly bear down onto this building, but seems as though they simply want to try and climb this rock face and get a higher advantage.
Definitely will work if they're able to work their way up to the top, and no reason why they wouldn't be able to. Trying to see, oh, and this is going to be inside the circle too, so this could become a very, very powerful position for Loyalty to play off of. Some of our
Oh,
mainstay teams, though, in good positions still. Paradox, most notably, holding on to, I believe, the same building they've been camping in pretty much since they rotated down over to Fisher here a few moments ago. But aside from that, Maycam taking a lot of heat right now. It's going to be a run around downing one of their players as their Caustic gets taken out by Taro Day. Masano, as well as Fleo, trying to hold on as well. The Rock team was able to work his way up to a high ground position, and he's actually returning fire pretty well right now. But with both of his teammates dead, probably not going to want to get too aggressive here anymore. It's about survival more than anything, as he's just reached the point of the game where this team will now be in points, but it's only a single point they'll get for placement here at 15th place. So if they can push that any further, that'll obviously be pushed into their favor.
and that's just very unfortunate there for Maycam. Usually it's the high ground that wins you these kinds of engagements in Apex, but this time around it just did not work into their favor, giving the singular fights down to the bottom squad, and just some great plays being done to execute those 3v1s, being able to take them down, and just not the best re-engage for them, trying to get that banner back or at least get the refrag, but just simply not working out into their favor. But now we have Elite BR being pressured by the circle over towards Fake Love Black, and this is what I was looking at earlier on here when we had the map up. This could possibly be a rotation, but it's not going to happen. They're actually going to split in between the two valleys and two entry points into
Look at
Countdown, or excuse me, a thermal station.
Look at Fenrir and Fake Love right now. Elite BR is here in this as well, over in the corner, trying to figure out how they might be able to play into that. But thankfully, they've got a lot of places to spread out to when this next circle closes. For Fake Love and Fenrir, though, they really don't have a choice, or at least if Fenrir doesn't. Fenrir, if they go down to the south, they're going to run into what I believe is Phoenix team sitting there in the dark blue. And obviously, if they go to the left, they're going to run right into Fake Love here. So Fenrir is going to try and wiggle their way out of this situation. It is not looking too kind to them right now with the circle.
Well, the good news is that Fenrir has been such a strong team. I mean, every single fight that they get where it's these one-on-ones, you know, squad on squad, I'd say, they've been able to win out quite a few of them, but it actually seems like the opposing squad actually traveling above them instead. This actually could not be very good for them if they exit this one at a time. They're going to need some sort of shield or something to be able to assist themselves. See if they have that on deck, but Can't exactly remember. I believe Fenrir aren't run. No, are they running the Gibby? I can't exactly remember for this squad. I don't believe that they are, but we'll have to jump on board with them a little later on. Update on Cerberus. This is the squad that we didn't see get the best finishes yesterday, consistently at the bottom of the board, but they've made it through the first five, and this is starting to look like a game where they could bounce back.
Yeah, already in the top 15 here, in good position to play into this next circle. It's this next circle, though, that's really potentially going to be rough for any of the teams sitting on the outside of it right now, as all of the potential cover, more importantly, all of the potential buildings that could be taken out are already well under control of teams on the inside of the circle itself here. So there's not a lot of room to play into this. Cerberus are trying to capitalize, level up their Evo shields as much as possible while they have this high ground to work from here. You can see they don't have the best right now with only those level 3 shields for pretty much every single member, and one of them was level 1 until a second ago there, just before they were able to get this extra damage going on to that team down below inside of the actual structures. They're gonna have to hop down here quickly, work their way in, but in the meanwhile, we'll go over here to Flow Nocturne, who's already jumped into another fight against their opponents and seemingly winning it, as that's gonna be Fake Love losing Lusquin, potentially some others going down here in a moment as well.
Yeah, and Flow Nocturnes has been able to hold on to Thermal Station for quite some time. We saw them in that earlier engagement as well, and finding so much damage onto the Crypto here. He's already been downed, and this lower position with all of these gas tanks up, just dealing so much damage, as well as this close range weaponry they have with the R99. Just can't slow them down at all. As long as we'll be able to hold on to this, it's going to be difficult to try and work them out unless the circle is favorable. But hopefully the server's favorable as well. You won't always want those bullets to connect. But now hopping on board with Elite BR, they've got some problems of their own, but it seems pretty easily manageable. It's simply shoot the Crypto that is trying to kill everybody else, and that's exactly what they'll do.
Besk at least trying to make an impact there at the final moment, was able to down Vasar before getting traded out himself, and his squad, of course, getting eliminated as a result of that. All that loot goes over towards Elite BR, as we've got quite a few of our teams, as Stokes mentioning, that normally the bottom or the middle of the pack in our standings so far, potentially about to make a big impact on match number 9, the first match of day 2 of this grand final here. But as you can see, not a lot to play off of here, and more importantly, a lot of environmental hazards inside of this final circle as well. Teams will have to be careful not to get pushed into any of those and find themselves eliminated through a very unfortunate series of events should they fall towards the lava there. But either way, that final circle, or one of the final circles I should say, starting to close their way in. This will more than likely force out the large majority of the fights we'll get from our remaining 15 or 14 teams.
Well, seems like we could have contact between Phoenix 2 and Cerberus. A fight that I don't believe that we've seen before, so we'll see who can best who, but we're back on board with Flow Nocturnes, what they're getting into. And right now what they're getting into is a whole lot of gunfights, as it's multiple angles that they're getting rained on from right now, whether it be vertical or horizontal. They're dealing with both, so they're going to slap down the caustic tanks and start to try and find some verticality of their own, as well as some cover, but targets not where they once were, at least for Terra Day. So they're going to back off instead. And as of right now, this is mostly what all of these squads are doing, is just fighting for map control and just space control over inside of Thermal Station. They've mostly all found cover here, and as long as they'll be able to hold on to that, they really won't have to waste too many mats. So it's just sending shots back and forward to try and level up those Evo shields.
Now, I believe it is Evolve that has control of the top of the center structure right now. We'll have to take a look and see if they're going to be able to continue holding on to that when our next circle closes off. But they have the advantage for the most part due to that high ground position here, and will continue to rain fire down unrestrictedly against any of the teams sitting below them, as long as they're going to be able to continue playing it. As you can see, though, from our mini-map, that is not going to remain a safe zone for very long here. In fact, it is now no longer a safe zone with the circle closing in. That's going to be a mad scramble from at least 3 of the remaining squads, if not more, trying to work their way to the next facility here as the circle gets even more claustrophobic for our teams to play in, with round 4 closing off now.
And you could hear from Zilich that he is in someone's sight. Somebody's aiming at him, and all of these squads now under pressure. You can see it's a mad dash. The scramble's begun. The circle's dealing insane damage right now to DK, and he can't catch up. He's been down. Fenrir being eliminated. Zoltan with a nice rope move, but can he make it past the squad? He's still up, but the circle's pressuring him now. He's been downed. Still a mad dash from both of these people. Zilich will make it under with the Wraith ability as well, but Insomnia Insomnia already on top of things. You can see he's been downed on the door, and they'll continue this pressure. They just want to get the damage down, pick up these KPs, just finding it, making it easy. This is what we talked about yesterday, all about this positioning. This circle now helping these bottom squads that have been favoring the bottom side of the map.
So many squads going down right there, and I think Paradox picking up the large majority of those frags for it, seeing the whole kill feed light up with Paradox tags right there. As yep, they're still going to be holding on the inside, but at the same time, that one single player from other squad sitting on the other end of that one, remaining alive here, remaining in the fight, keeping the squad in play for potentially those couple extra seconds to push them that much further into the rankings. It's crucial when these circle closes happen because, as you see, our squad's dropping off like crazy. They're going from 13 to 9 over the course of that circle. Now it's bringing it down to Singularity, Paradox, Maycam, Loyalty, Insomnia, Phoenix, Fake Love Black with a single member, and Elite PR. Oh, never mind, I jinxed it. A single member from Fake Love Black now dead, as they'll be our next squad to be eliminated here.
Well, at least they made it to top 10. That's a strong finish for right now. Hopefully the KPs can assist them a little bit, but Maycam Evolve showing up in a big way. Granted, they only have a single person left alive, and he's getting highly pressured right now. Don't exactly know how many mats he has left, but he's practically bleeding from every orifice of his body, so hopefully he can find something to patch that up soon underneath that building. Got to scamper for parts there, boys and girls. So Paradox still with very strong positioning, and this is the thing. This is what we've been talking about in all of this pre-match, is their strong positioning, and still now they're able to be consistent. Even though the circle wasn't favorable for their drop, they're still having a strong start here. But Elite BR now under pressure, at least one down. Paradox all over this situation, still haven't lost a single member just yet, playing their shield to a T and taking out anyone that dare enter. The Spitfire raining down on this opposing squad. Artini going a little too far here, and oh no, it's the single fights, and they've been taken down. Paradox Esports out, and they can't find their 5th match win.
Current leader, but still going to be able to get themselves a 6th place finish there, which will have pretty respectable standings as top of the KPs they were able to get for themselves in those last couple of fights. Elite BR, the one that's able to take them out. Phoenix team now looking to make impact, though. They're sitting in 2nd place. This could be a great game for them to close the gap now, and they're going to know it after seeing Paradox go off on the kill feed just a couple seconds ago. A lot of KPs already in the hands of Phoenix team here as well. We can see 4 collected between Worst, and that's not even counting any of the ones that he may have not been involved in on the other players as well. It's down to the wire, though, as we're up to our final 4 teams, as well as the final circle getting ready to close off in 40 seconds here. It's time to fight. You can't hide anymore. And in fact, with going down there for Singularity to the ring, that's going to bring us down to 3 squads standing.
Yeah, well, very little building here. It's all about what coverage you can try and get on these rocks. And Loyalty quite favored on this. You can see they've already stacked the shields up to try and switch out at a moment's notice. This is going to be quite the engagement from all of these squads. Everyone fully shielded here, but where's our last team? Loyalty now raining down on the opposing squad, being able to break the Gibby shield. Great start for them.
Remember, this is the position we were talking about like 10 minutes ago for Loyalty. They've been here for such a long time. They were trying to jump up on this very same rock. If we go back such a long time, like 2 to 3 circles ago, they were here. They were holding this ground. So Loyalty being the team this time, not Paradox, that gets that winning position from such an early point in the game. And I mean, as you can see from the death boxes around, they've just been farming kills as a result of having said position here. You see Phoenix trying to work their way up, trying to put the pressure onto Loyalty. It's not the easiest thing in the world. That 3rd squad trying to sneak around from the left flank as well, but it's been spotted by Bin, who's unleashing Hellfire now from that Spitfire. Gibby Shield comes in to save the day, but only temporarily now, as it's just going to allow those players to reshield back up.
And this circle continues to close down, continues to constrict. These 3 squads so dangerous for our first match of the day. It's back and forth. The shield battery still assisting all of these squads. Still on top of this, but Loyalty continuing the aggression, but they're not ready for Phoenix to push from the lower half. It's the cross angle here that's lighting them up as well. Phoenix with the shield, but now it's just down to the 2 squads. Phoenix looking so strong here, and more pressure coming in from Worst Twitch, but he's giving as good as he's getting. He has the Mastiff out. Good pressure here. It's all down to the Wraith, and Phoenix team bounce back in blazing glory.
Phoenix team, what a recovery there in the top three. Thought for sure they were going to end up getting knocked out in third or second due to the low ground disadvantage, but Loyalty getting caught on the timing there, so focused on the squad to their left, they don't even notice the push is working its way in for Phoenix team. The timing is perfect. They absolutely melt one of the members of Loyalty, making the rest of the cleanup that much easier of an affair. Possibly going to see Phoenix rebound back, as now they should be getting closer with another win going into their pocket. That's their third overall inside of the series here. Remember, again, they're contesting against Paradox, who has just 4, and this is with them only being a couple kills behind Paradox's total kill total, meaning that's going to be great for them to try and close that gap, which seemed insurmountable up until the beginning of this game.
Yeah, this is a huge change up in the storyline for this entire tournament. Paradox, I don't believe even making it into the top 5. Truly made the top 10, but we'll have to see when we get to the scoreboard. Yeah, they got 6th here, as you can see. So either way, I mean, that is a huge change up here and a huge change inside of points. As you said, the KPs could mean a lot to Phoenix. But the thing here, these are the 2 constants that we see inside of every single match. This is the first time that we've had a true test of all of these groups, Blue, because this is the first time that we've had to travel down to the bottom of the map. And honestly, I think that's why we saw a lot of our bottom squads find some success inside of match 1.
Not only that, but Loyalty making some really good impact there too. You know, we said how they kind of got knocked out there rather unfortunately, but remember, they had that high ground position for a solid 2 to 3 circles, and you could see all the death boxes around them were more than likely kills from Loyalty themselves. So a second place finish on top of what should be a pretty solid number of kills, right around 10 if I had to guess, is going to leave them in good position to really boost up the scoreboard as well. That's going to finish up map number 1 of the day, folks. Map number 9 overall on the series. Stick with us as the next one is coming up in just a few minutes. We're back again, ladies and gentlemen, with yet another game here at the GLL Masters Spring for South America. If you've been with us all day, you've already been joining us for some great APAC North and MEA action. It's time to round things off for South America, though, as we try to claim a champion here. One game of the day already having been played out. Let's take a look at the statistics and see where our teams sit. Is Paradox still in control, or has Phoenix closed the gap, as they're going to get a whopping 22 points for this game?
And Paradox Esports all the way down in 6th, only getting 7 points, and that's going to be a big gap closer here for Phoenix. Obviously, it's not going to be the full brunt of it, but to start the day off in such convincing fashion, that is such a thing. As well as for the rest of these squads, Flow Nocturne's finally having a good finish. Singularity, Loyalty, and Elite BR, the team that we saw do so strong, do so well, excuse me, instead of the ALGS, finishing in 2nd.
Yeah, Flow Nocturne only getting 1 point for placement there, so going out at some point between 11th and 15th place, but still able to get like 4 to 5 kills, making a pretty impressive run, all things considered, and that's going to keep them in 6th place. But it is going to be Paradox still in control, and still by a massive margin as well. Look at the split between 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. It is almost 30 points between each position right now.
Yeah, 60 points in total between Paradox and Fenrir right now. It's going to be very difficult for anyone inside of the top 10 to catch the top 2, but we'll see if it can be done. But again, these have been the 2 constants inside of our entire grand final. So to be honest, not surprised.
Not to mention we have a near 3-way tie for 3rd place there as well. 72 points for Fenrir, so Fenrir is actually in 3rd place right now, but Singularity and Loyalty both at 71 points for 4th place. Only a single point, a single kill behind Fenrir right now. So that means Fenrir's lead are in 3rd place. Very, very delicate right now. We're going to have to see them keep up the performance if they want to be able to keep pace and keep themselves in position to take home that 3rd place prize at the end of our 16th match today.
Yeah, and there's a big difference inside of that prize pool from 5th place to 3rd place. So we'll see these teams vying for a lot of things today, but still a lot of action left to come, folks. Matches all day today, still have 7 left as well. We've only done 9 so far, but only 1 today. And let me tell you, was it action packed? I mean, I had such a good time. That top 5 especially, wow.
I mean, it's a pretty brutal circle, as we saw so many teams, I think like half the lobby being forced into the late circle because they knew they were going to have no room to work with there. So made it a pretty chaotic final scramble and a really nice 3-way fight at the end there too. Loyalty, of course, having the unfortunate turn of events that they did that pushed them from what seemed like it was going to be a surefire 1st place finish down to a 3rd place finish, but still able to make an impact in the kill department and push them that much further up on the scoreboard. Nearly in 3rd place here now, as we were talking about previously. But it's time to drop once again 10, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 10 is we're in the double digits now. Only a couple more left here for our teams to make an impact in order to make themselves known on the scoreboard and try to push them into the top 3, the top 5. They're looking for prizing today here as well. Start off with Phoenix 2 from the looks of things. I haven't actually caught up with this team a whole lot as of yet, but also take a peek at the map if we're going to have any immediate collisions. More than likely not, if we're being honest. We've only had that happen once so far in 9 games, but let's take a peek anyway.
Yeah, one of our lower 10 squads that we were jumping on board with and just catching up with them, trying to crack that top 10 and trying to force their way into the money. Obviously, a long day left today, so still have an opportunity to do so. But
Someone
just
died.
getting an update here on things. Yeah, somebody did die, 59 out of 60. So that's extremely unfortunate for one squad. We'll have to see exactly what happened with that later on. But anyways, looks like we're going to have a circle change here once again. And once again, on top of that, it's not going to be Geyser. It's not going to be Skyhooker Trials. It's going to the bottom right this time. We're headed towards Dome.
This is actually gonna be like a really awkward circle too. You can see it's not necessarily centered on any singular zone except for Dome there at the bottom, and we'll have to see if it actually continues to close in on that. But this
I
open
don't think
territory
so at all.
yeah, no. I mean, it'll be crazy if it ends up drifting over there. But I mean, like, you can just see how much open field is sitting there in the middle of that circle right now. That tunnel, well, where the vault is actually probably gonna be pretty pivotal for teams to try to play into as well. So
That's what I was just about to talk about, man. Did you just imagine the amount of massive play we're about to see?
the problem with that tunnel though is
Yeah.
like, if you're holding the exits, that's fine. But the fact that there's 3 entrances makes it kind of sketchy, in my opinion, when you consider the fact you can get flanked so easily because you can't just cover
Yeah.
2 angles and immediately have all of your assets taken care of. So we'll have to see if teams choose to kind of hide out in there and play for the positioning and considering those risks. I think they might. There's probably adequate cover to still play, considering the fact that they could potentially get pinched from 2 different sides.
You know, everyone just plays one tunnel and it's just a 1v3. It's fine. You know, it'll turn
Honestly,
out.
that's probably what'll happen. Is we'll just have 3 different squads holding the entrances, and then none of them will move. So it'll end up working itself out probably. But
Exactly. It'll be the people that rotate behind the people holding the door that actually make
Yeah.
things go off. That's what's gonna happen. We can already see a lot of squads actually working their way towards this vault. We have Loyalty here, flying high. I don't know what that squad is up on top of them. I can't really tell by the color there. My monitor's I need to fix it. I need to fix it. All right, that's my bad. That's my bad.
But either way, we are going to start to see the majority of the collective of our squads work their way into at least the initial circle. Still some tentative battles over here towards Skyhook, notably between Fenrir and Elite BRs. They have a couple players crossed in between each other right now. We'll see if we can catch up with that in a moment, if they end up coming to blows. But of a lot of the other teams here trying to work their way across the map and into more powerful positions. We can see at least one squad here working their way through the Geyser loot pool right now. What's up?
It's Nocturnes. That's the guys that we were trying to figure out. It's Nocturnes with the weirdly olive green but like limey that makes my monitor not want to know what colors is for some reason. Anyways,
What's that description?
yeah, exactly. I don't know. Like that's the thing is when you have these many teams, right? It's not like you can exactly allocate the best of colors for visual pleasure. So Loyalty now with some pressure and going to be one of the first squads to actually have this issue. And oh no, only Ben trying to make it away, trying to stay alive, and he's using everything in his kit to do so, including the ult. And he'll actually be able to make it away. Gets his shield back on top of himself, so he'll have some health and a little bit of rest assurance here at least, so he can pop a med kit. But the issue is now he's lost 2 of his friends, and it's very, very early on here. Not the best way to start match 2.
Yeah, that's a big fall from grace from where Loyalty ended up at the end of the previous map there. And considering that Ben has pretty much no chance to get back his teammates' banners here, you can see flying high and at least one other squad in the area. It's going to be tough, but however, it does look like Ben might have been turning around to actually try to make a run for his teammates' banners there. So we'll see if he tries to go for it. Definitely going to be a big risk. The good news, though, is if Ben was smart, he would have caught on to the fact that there's now 2 other squads engaging each other, including the one that tried to take him down a second ago. So he might be able to thrive in that chaos, sneak in, get the banners, and run away. In the meanwhile, though, Flying High is well committed to this next fight here, and they're cleaning up as Insomnia is going to lose quite a few of their players, not the entire squad. That is, of course, until Trabs picks up that final frag against Grego M, solidifying the deal and eliminating Insomnia completely from the map.
Yeah, we didn't see too much of Flying High in the previous match either, but that doesn't mean that they can't start the comeback here. We saw this squad in ALGS have quite a few good finishes and some great fights, and it seems like they're opt to do so again yet today, able to get some more mats off of the death boxes, restack before this next fight. But not too much pressure coming on to them just yet here, as we can see hopping on board with Flying High once again. It's actually Paradox across the way, and as we've known from Paradox, they're more than likely not going to move unless it is going to be lethal.
And we know Paradox pretty well, so we think we're correct in that assumption here. Is Best, Canellis, and Artini. I mean, look at how much they've spread themselves out across this W-shaped building here. They're each going to be holding like one of the extremities of it here in the event someone tries to press in and take this building from them. A really, really strong positioning being established there by Fenrir by Paradox. In the meantime, as we take a look at Fenrir, they've been able to down one of the members of Team Brave Soldiers. And oh no, the arc star through the window, always a dangerous one. It's going to force them into a bubble. No real damage coming out, but they'll have to knock down this door if they really want to put the pressure on the inside, but that's a little bit too difficult to accomplish as it seems here. The good news is they have that caustic gas grenade. They're going to throw that in. That's going to put enough pressure on a TBS here. And in fact, Suda is going to go down as a result of that. Asleep, still alive here with the gold shields as well. So he's got a quicker capability to get himself back in the fight after going down. The problem though is it's just too much pressure. Asleep wants to get out of here with this gold shield, hopping from the balloon zip wire to the actual zip wire in order to keep that speed increase as much as possible. And it looks like he will successfully get out of here, but he'll have to leave Lukey behind as a result of that.
And TBS, the gas nade on top of the ring damage is too much damage, and they have to vacate the premises instead. He'll lose all of his friends, and there is no way that he's getting them back either. So he'll attempt for a high placement, or at least just a better placement that's inside of those points that we've been talking about so far throughout today. But just an update on the map now, you can still see we have quite a few squads outside of this first ring. Don't have to worry about that damage all too much, but just remember they still have to back up and heal every once in a while, so the fights can't be as consistent like what Flying High's dealing with right now. And oh no, all the damage from Tempest as they actually end up winning the engagement. They're going to have some more issues here, but Tempest will lock the door shut. They need to be able to heal. They've actually lost one of their members, and Flow Nocturnes with the aggression, they'll grenade the door off. Maestro continuing the pressure. He'll be able to lock things up as they clean up all of this squad. Some fantastic stuff here for Nocturnes.
4KP is going in their way as it's a pretty massive chain of kills going off here. So many squads trying to capitalize off of the tail end of the previous fight that they're jumping into. Seems to be working for the large majority of squads attempting the third parties here as well. So that's left us with quite a few of our squads that made impact in the previous game, and in fact made it to even the top 10 in some cases, now getting eliminated. That includes, of course, Loyalty, who was our third place finish with arguably one of the most promising positions at the end of the last game, now gone as one of the first squads knocked out here.
Yeah, and it's just extremely unfortunate. I mean, their finishes were starting to look more consistent, and to lose out right now, that's going to be a lot of heartache, but doesn't mean that they're done for the rest of the day. I'm sure that we'll be seeing them attempt to bring things back in our next match. And
so many squads in the circle right now.
Brave
just trying to work their way over.
He actually got them back. They actually got Lukey back and respawned him over at Lava Fisher.
That's crazy.
That's incredible. Wow. Very, very great stuff from them. But they have to worry about this next circle as well. Because just remember, if that next circle does activate, they're going to start taking more damage all the way out here as well. So that's a pretty big deal when it comes down to it.
The good news is probably a good amount of syringes and whatnot left on the loot tables on the inside of the zones they're currently looting, so probably going to be able to scavenge enough of what they need in order to make it to the inside. But as Stokes said, they definitely want to try and increase that pacing so they don't end up getting bled out by the extra damage that's going to come in just a couple seconds here on the circle when the second wave starts to close in. Once more, though, we're sitting over here towards Lava Fisher, and we've got a lot of teams potentially stacked up here. Paradox still controlling the large W-shaped building. Another squad across the way, two other squads, I should say, actually, across the way here, too. One of them is Phoenix, I believe, working there. Or, excuse me, no, not Phoenix. I'm trying to remember who Novak's squad is.
It's Antisocial Aimers and
Antisocial Aimers, that's who it is. Yes, apologies for that. Not the tags. It's a bit difficult sometimes to pull from memory. But Antisocial Aimers, another pretty competitive squad here. Been unlucky with their placements and kind of the fight selection they've been taking here, but we've seen them make that impact in the past. So Paradox definitely going to give them the respect they deserve.
Yeah, and they deserve a lot of it. I mean, aimers is the name, right? And killing is the game, but they've really only been able to do that. It's been the placements that have been escaping them, not exactly those frags. So we'll see if they can get a higher placement this time around. But you can see from all of these squads, given the circumstances, given that there's only 16 squads, or excuse me, still 16 squads. Let's make this sound like there's a lot more here, because there is. That's why we're not going to see as many engagements. But as soon as I say that, looks like we could have some possible KPs up for grabs inside of the W-shaped building. Caustic's gas tanks now down. A lot of pressure coming here onto Rico and the boys.
See here, it's going to force them back. Rico still peeking out for a moment here to try to check it. He's got that drone, at least I think he does, assuming it's not on cooldown. But still going to try to face check this here as he lurks his way over to see what his opponent's positions look like, since they obviously fired off earlier just a second ago. And now Novak's actually going to work his way all the way to the back side of that. Still watching the flank in case Paradox try to pull a move against them, as they currently hold control of one of the more pivotal buildings inside of this part of the map.
Well, Novak, an antisocial aimer, still holding things down across the way, is now have our update what these squads are doing, and you can see TBS still out in the circle. That second ring activated as well, so more damage coming onto them. Loyalty still up, alive and breathing here at the top of the map, or at least at the top of the circle as of right now. Have another engagement going off for AIE as well, so we'll have to see if they get knocked out. And Cerberus, once again, finding some consistent placement inside the circle, but this could be all for naught. Looks like they're getting into yet another fight here. We haven't seen what the squad is, but the circle is now a factor as they're bouncing back and forth. Lots of damage onto Annabelle here. He's trying to escape, can't get the med kit out in time. He's been downed. They'll lose one, but it's an exchange of Gibby ults back and forth. They have the building to play off of, though, and they'll more than likely be able to shield back up. Cerberus, there's so much pressure on them right now. EMPs as well to knock away those shields. Yuri trying to make it out alive, and FL are here as well to play.
Oh no. Fake Love Black coming in to try and shut down either AIE or Cerberus. Either way, Cerberus not really going to have the capability to play into this anymore because they've been pinched from two directions. They have to run. They have to get out of here if they're even still alive anymore. AIE lost one of their players in that exchange here also. It does look like at least one of the squads made it away from that very, very dangerous position and are now sitting at the bottom of the cliff here. But at the same time, it does in fact look like it was going to be Cerberus that made it away with at least some of their players. They're still in this fight, still with 3 players up and standing as well. AIE, I believe, have lost 1. They're now trying to fight back, but there you go. Breeze are going to get down for a second time, keeping the pressure onto Cerberus as they try to escape the wrath of Fake Love Black right now.
And Fake Love Black continuing to pick up these kills, but looks like it's just Natsu for right now, as he'll be able to take down Yuri. And all of a sudden, things have gone quiet, but that's to be expected. Able to find those frags, clean things up, and they have mostly all of the control of the area, but looks like we still have Buxton Scanner out there. I believe Scanner was down earlier. That might have been the previous match, though, so I'll have to see exactly what happens with that one. But now as we jump on board with TBS, lots of pressure coming onto them, and by lots, I mean they're dead. They're already gone. In that amount of time. It was done, dusted, you know,
Man.
FedEx, ship it. It's gone.
That whole run from them just to die like that. That's unfortunate, as Fenrir are going to be able to isolate them out. When they finally reached the edge of the circle, they had to go for that whole marathon run way over from Lava Fisher, if I remember their position correctly, to get into the circle, ultimately to be knocked out by Fenrir there. At least made it into the top 15, so they are going to get a single placement point for their troubles, but if they were unable to get any KPs, that's obviously not going to be a very high placing game for them. Take a look at Maycam here, is also involved in a skirmish just outside of the dome, where we have a lot of our teams being shuffled towards here, and it does look like the circle is actually working its way towards the dome. So all the teams that capitalize on that early positioning again, most notably Paradox, 1 and 2 other squads as well in that zone, definitely going to have that early positioning be paid off in huge dividends, as it looks like we're going that way. Loyalty trying to survive in the meantime here. Bin and Invictus down to their final last inklings of HP, and in fact Invictus now down entirely. Bin's going to have to save the day again. He was able to go back in earlier towards the dome and retrieve both of the banners for Invictus and Kings. He might have to try and do it once again here, as he's about to lose both of them, and to be honest, he might just have to abandon ship here from the fight yet again, as the circle's also starting to close in on him.
is going to have to do so. I mean, there's 13 squads that remain. They're trying to finish in the placement points as he continues to try and run away. But Fenrir now raining down fire on him as well, as they're now getting shot at. There's just way too many squads in this area, but this is exactly what we expected. They're starting to run into that issue that we talked about at the beginning of this match. The Vault now coming into play. Phoenix 2 inside of this engagement as well with some problems of their own. Monkey's been down as they replay into their own shield. It's all left up to Folks, but he'll clean up shop and he'll take kill lead as well.
Big clutch from Folks there to keep his team in the fight. Fenrir, in the meanwhile, are fragging out across the map here. Look at this, 7 KPs just sitting on Zoltam right now. And that's not including anything else that's not counted by him. So with so much damage already being in this team's pocket, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with here inside of the late game. Regardless of their placement at this point, they are making waves. And if they can get themselves into a top 5 finish, that's going to be a dangerous boost to their own point share here, possibly stealing the third place away from the team that currently holds it.
Oh, and AIE finally found Scanner down and Phoenix with yet another KP. So they're stacking them up once again. Already had a strong finish today, and they're looking to stay consistent. But oh no, as we hop on board with Dynamics, Crimin taking a lot of shots, lots of damage onto him. And oh no, it looks like Evolved want to get down to business. Insano with a very forward position, but it's the crossfire from a squad that they didn't even know existed downrange. It is already doing some consistent damage. These squads continuing to try and level these shields, get this damage done, find these KPs. You can just see the amount of fights that we've had simply by all of these octane pads that we have laying around. Some high positioning now here for Maycam that could possibly help them out. This Evolved squad has already found some consistent finishes here today, and they're looking to continue to do so, but not able to really truly find the cutoff they were looking for. And oh no, all the damage on Dakina now will actually end up taking him down, but they'll still have 2 up. Phoenix 2 with a lot of pressure now. Folks 2, or at least Folks, excuse me, now pressuring forward with Kindy, and they'll be able to take down 1. He needs to pop the shield as he's the only one that remains. He'll find the frag, actually ends up grabbing Monkey's banner as well.
Good stuff there. That's going to be Maycam fully knocked out as he gets the tail end of that fight. Problem is, Folks as well here, straggling. Dynamics coming in. Like we said, I haven't seen them a whole lot ever since the earlier games in this series, but they come in for a quick cleanup there as they pick up at least 1 more KP for themselves. Oh, it's getting put into a rough spot there as he's going to get spammed down by OMM from Singularity. Singularity, in the meantime, holding some high ground positioning. A nice jump from Elysium to get him behind coverage and hold back any immediate attempts to try and swing forward here.
He's playing this one pretty close to the chest again. Although we are having all of these fights happen right now, that doesn't mean that any of these people exactly want this to not go their way. I mean, we're not even to the top 5 squads just yet, and all of these fights just constantly happening inside of these last 5 minutes, and yet another squad removed from the game as Dynamics are finally finding some consistency. Same with Singularity as Ohm taking some shots, but we still have Paradox as well inside of this top 8 now, I believe top 7.
You're trying to lurk to the left there to maybe sneak up onto Ohm and some of the other players from Singularity, but they've lost their chance, and now we'll start to drift to the inside.
Blue? They're literally in the middle of the area again. How do they constantly find this space?
Survey beacons, probably.
Incredible, man. Absolutely incredible.
Because I assume they have a Bloodhound. I can't remember their comp off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure they're rocking one. And if they've got that, then yeah, just finding enough of those to be able to get a general idea of where the final circle is going to be at, and yeah, just play off of that. And I mean, it's been working, right? They're like almost the top 5 every single time. Like last game, got blended to the top 6, big deal. But like they've won 4 games, so you really can't contest the consistency that we've been seeing from Paradox right now. And Fenrir's kind of making a run for their money. The last like 3 to 4 games, Fenrir has been pretty consistently showing up here as well, even more aggressively too. Like they haven't been a team that's been fighting for that early positioning as much. They've been catching a lot of fights on the rotates though, and they've usually been winning them as they have to work their way down from the skyhook, and you can see how much travel that's going to involve just off these last 2 games. I mean, even right now, look at this. They're getting hyper aggressive, trying to play and trying to steal one of these buildings away so that they can have the map control.
not only steal these buildings away, but continue to stack these kills. The more those get, the gap gets smaller between them and first place. But now Paradox coming under pressure inside of their building. Best taking a lot of damage. He's lost his shield, switches over to the Spitfire, but oh no, it's the gas grenade. Now it's now dealing so much damage. Paradox, it might happen to them again. Is sixth place now the curse? It seems to be, as they've been wiped out by Flow Nocturnes, who takes full control of the building.
Paradox once again finding themselves outside of that top 5. Not where they want to be, but thankfully still has the luxury of the earlier wins, 4 of them, in fact, in order to keep themselves in a comfortable first place lead. And that will more than likely stay true even with that second, sixth place elimination. Definitely going to reduce the gap between them and their opponents, especially if Phoenix is still in this fight somewhere, which I believe they are. If that to be the case, Phoenix once again going to try and close the gap slightly more to try and take first place away here. Taking a look at Fenrir, though, who's been the real story inside of match number 10 here, tearing their way through so many different players, having to rotate so far through this map and seeming to continue that as we're getting down to the final 4 squads.
And they've done such a good job of not only having great
Ben
location, but Ben. Hello, hi, how are you, man?
Ben's ran away from 2 full 3v3 team fights and has somehow been able to stay alive up to the final 4 here. And is now just peppering in these shots to try and keep himself, at least keep his opponents scared enough not to push him more than anything.
Just make yourself look big, all right? That's what you have to do during bear attacks, you know?
He's got the jump pad too, so he can try to hop away if someone else attempts to jump on him here. But he's got to be careful. He's got Singularity just to his left. I'm sure he's getting ready to make a mad dash when the call is thrown out for it here. But at the same time, Teraday moving out of his building, cracking one of the shields from Fenrir. That's going to be Zoltam forced to the back of his building. And actually, Fenrir in general forced off the rooftop as Singularity also is putting too much pressure on him.
Well, it's Fenrir on Nocturnes, battle that we're starting to see more consistently now. And Fenrir starting with a losing battle is Nocturnes with a strong positioning. Seems like these gas tanks starting to have some effect on them though, as Taro's starting to take some damage. But the pressure just way too strong right now. The Spitfire working well, but oh no! They all go for the jump pad play and they're burnt alive. Fenrir still inside of this one as well, but they've lost 2 of their members. It's down to Truman Jar as the last man standing. Singularity, seemingly the last squad with a full set of members.
A 3v1v1 is what we have here as well. The final 2 other squads besides Singularity, only with a single player left. And oh no, they're fighting amongst each other. Come on, guys. You got to work together here. It's your only way to get higher placement. Singularity are just going to thrive upon this. They've got no reason to engage on this. They've got cover to play off of here. Finally, the jump up as those 2 solo players try to capitalize the chaos, but can't get it done. Singularity with the 3v1v1 to close it out. They're going to take control of our 10th map.
Well, Singularity showing exactly why they're playing that Horizon. Oh, you think you have some cover? That's a pretty cute rock you have there. I'm just going to float 100 feet in the air and shoot you from a different spot anyways. So some fantastic stuff there from Singularity, and we're continuing, to see the consistency throughout the day from a number of these squads, but starting to have some stronger finishes as well. Nocturnes really starting to be a big surprise here in day 2.
Yeah, none of our real big players on the top of the scoreboard now making it to the finals. So that's going to be a pretty big boost for Singularity, who I believe is in contention around our top 5 or top 6 right now to try to push them up. Probably pretty close to that 3rd place position where teams have a relative chance to try and steal the title away and steal it in relatively quick succession with just a good game or 2, as we just saw there from Singularity. So a big boost for them. For both Phoenix and Paradox, though, seeing them go down relatively early and Fenrir making a lot of impact until they got knocked out somewhere around the top 5 also. We're in for some really interesting shifts in the ratings here, and what is still more than likely going to be a very, very close race. Paradox in control, but probably losing a lot of their lead as a result of these past 2 games.
Yeah, and that's got to be our biggest fold here, is that they cannot even crack the top 5 right now. We'll have to see what they truly finish there, because we had so many squads get eliminated succession, but I'm sure when we get to the scoreboard we'll have all the answers for you guys. But match 2, I mean, my god, what was that? I mean, I hope our circles continue to go and work their way around that entire map, but guys, that means we have to get into some more matches to figure that one out, and that's what we're going to send you on to this break. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Hey, we're back again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the GLL Masters Spring. About to jump into match number 11 here of our South American Grand Finals. Stokes with me on the mic. And Stokes, what do we just see in that last match on match number 10 as we get ready to take a look at the scores here?
Oh man, it was such a dynamic game. We finally got another fresh circle, no longer in the top side of the map once again, in the bottom right. And that's where we saw Singularity for our first time in Master Spring take the win.
Fenrir really making a run in the kill department in that game, as well as we could see 11 frags for them as they picked up the kill leader overall, while only placing third or fourth in the match. I believe it was 7 points there. So 18 overall going into their court as they're going to take a nice lead off of that one. But it's definitely Singularity that gets the lion's share of the points by that slight margin there. 20 going to them. And that's actually going to push them into third place. They overtake Fenrir by a single point at 90-91, which is Loyalty actually into relatively the same position they've been in here now at 85. So Loyalty still keeping up due to the good performance they had in that match. But Flow Nocturne's getting pushed down into 6th now. Paradox still in control as well by nearly the same point factor here. However, Phoenix's lead in 2nd, not so well assured anymore, as they're only about 10 points from the next team.
Yeah, and looking across this entire board right now, we can see a couple of our previous winners as well, not having the best of straights. Dynamics currently in 12th, as well as, a team that we saw a little bit today, Team Cerberus, still at the bottom of the scoreboard. It seemed like they were starting to get some better placements, Blue, but apparently it's not really working out in the grand scheme of things. So hopefully they can try and find some more consistency throughout the day. But that last match, definitely a huge change as to what we had been used to seeing.
Definitely the case. 2nd place is now kind of up for grabs here due to Phoenix no longer controlling the large majority of these matches. Paradox obviously going to remain in control due to the crazy number of wins they've been able to pick up for themselves over the past day or so now. But that lead starting to get a little bit less secure now, just because of the fact that we have these other teams catching up. Singularity picking up some big point totals. Loyalty as well, constantly showing up in our first 2 games of the day. And in my opinion, they're going to continue to do that as they've been warming up quite well over the past 10 matches now. No reason to suspect they'd be suddenly dropping off the board. Paradox's strategy of taking the early map control and kind of just keeping it for the rest of the game isn't panning out as well as it was yesterday anymore, as we've seen them hold great positioning for 2 games in a row now and fail to get past 6th place.
Yeah, they're consistently getting into strong positioning, but it seems like every time that someone tries to force their way into the building, they're running into a lot of problems. And I don't exactly know what the disconnect is. We'll have to see if they can possibly iron that out throughout the rest of the day. But it is what it is for right now. We still saw some amazing stuff from them. And as long as they're continuing to hit the top 10, they're able to find these kills. They can at least bide for the lead as of right now. But they have to be feeling this pressure from Phoenix. That's the big thing. Although they are probably really happy with how that last match went.
Oh, definitely the case, seeing Phoenix get knocked out there. But at the same time, it's not just Phoenix they have to be scared of. Some of these other teams as well starting to close the gap, such as Singularity, who are going to start this next map off by taking a look at. They are the current champions coming in for match number 10. We're getting ready to hop into match number 11 now, folks. Let's take a look here as they're going to work their way down very quickly towards Fragment, the zone they've been taking control of for every single game so far, and for the most part, been uncontested here.
Yeah, and it's going to be difficult to try and contest them as well, given the lineup that they do have. And this is something that we found them abusing yesterday as well when we hopped on board with them in their fights in this area, making sure that they have Elysium on that Horizon. And Horizon, legend that we don't see all too often inside of the competitive scene, although we do have a handful of squads in each region that do run her. And it's mostly because of how you can actually transition between buildings, which is such a cool thing, being able to just ride up the side of it instead of using a zip line or a staircase like normal people, because who would want to do that?
Definitely. Well, let's take a look here, see if we're going to get any early engagements. At the moment, not looking too likely, if I'm going to be completely honest with you here. There is one player, a Novak, I believe, from Antisocial Aimers that has his drone kind of in the territory of Insomnia, but they're not going to be too worried about that on the bottom left side of the map. But we do have, though, oh, no, look at this Paradox quickly moving out from staging right over into AIE territory as well. AIE generally tending to stay a little bit more to the north near Trials, but unable to contain that inside of this this game. Best possibly not expecting to find them here, but either way, pushing forward and definitely committing to this fight, trying to see if they can trap AIE into an engagement this early on. Maybe not the best choice, though. We've already talked about how Paradox tends to take a more passive route inside of these games, and you can see them turn tail pretty quickly when they don't actually get a real engagement out of that push and head back to where they were looting back at staging.
Exactly. Not even a slight advantage there for them. Everyone in max shields. It would just be a hard engage, and they risk dying there. And although Alpha Intelligence hasn't had the greatest finish, they're still up to shoot back. So going to avoid that situation nevertheless, and continue looting on their way towards the bottom right of the map. Again, blue. We're back in what this conversation looked like the last time with the map. We're dealing with the vault. We're dealing with this congested area, but outside of that area, we have all of these open fields. We're going to have to see a lot of shield play as well as biting for what could possibly be another finish near that rock area.
Yeah, Dome actually not even going to really be in the circle this time either, so teams won't be able to play off of early positions being taken on the inside of that. Either way, that entire northwest part of the map, that's Fenrir, Elite BR, plenty of other squads as well, are going to be forced out of their spawn positions and really forced to make a run to the other side of the map here in order to keep themselves in contention for the circle. But as we've seen with at least in Team Brave Soldiers case on a couple of these matches previously, there are no strangers to waiting out this first circle, even going into the second circle slightly before they really are rushed to get to the inside.
Well, looks like we're going to have an engagement at the bottom of the map at launch site here with quite a few squads. Paradox not going to be inside of this one, but we will have Loyalty as well as Without Name, a squad that we saw consistently finishing decently high yesterday, but just not been able to find their same footing as of right now. But jumping on board with Tempest, they're at Countdown, and they've also lost Madmen. This is not looking good, especially with Under not having the best of shields. He will be able to upgrade it, but obviously not helping out as of right now, as it's been torn to shreds. Iferia now outside. He's taking a lot of damage as well, and he's been down. Can the Gibby heal the situation? No, he cannot. It's flying high with the third party as well, dealing all of this damage. Massive in hand for Trabs, but he can't get it done. The shot just not finding what was so necessary there. But Neocox with the reposition, going to have enough time to be able to at least shield up. Nothing truly happening for them for the rest of this time. Just able to get that nice KP on the third party here. But now Neocox finding yet another. He'll be able to take down Crypterio, which is a guy that we saw a little bit of yesterday, but just not nearly enough, honestly.
So the first of our few squads getting knocked out here is going to give over at least 4 KPs to Flying High. Possibly more than that too, but they'll take on the kill leader for now, so they'll be leading in that department for at least the foreseeable future inside of this map. So many squads getting knocked out early here too due to the forced engagement on the inside of this facility, as we're going to see quite a few teams no longer having any chance to make an impact here. Insomnia being the most notable one to get isolated out there, but not the only ones here, as we're actually going to see another squad, Antisocial Aimers, I believe this is, attempting to jump back in onto Phoenix right now, or at least jump past them in a better position.
This is going to be Dynamics on the flying route here. The Blue Angels flying in right now, but low on the shields. Going to find some positioning to get those healed back up, and then I'm sure we'll have an engage from them momentarily. But as we're jumping on board with Antisocial Aimers here over to the right-hand side of your screen, they're just going to be also hanging out. I mean, there's not too much going on around the map as of right now. It's more or less just these long-distance gunfights like we see with Cerberus here, just trying to tag some people up. And once again, like we're going to continue to talk about with these shields, trying to level up those Evo shields. It's a really big part of Apex Legends inside of the early game. There's not going to be pink shields just laying around for everybody. You have to find those blue shields, and you have to try and level them up and get that damage dealt.
So Tempest as well as Without Name are the two other teams that got knocked out from that engagement earlier on. Looks like possibly one of the members of Loyalty going to disconnect here. We'll see if he shows up later, but it's Bin as well, which will be rather unfortunate because Bin was kind of the savior for Loyalty back in that last game, as he had quite a bit of a run himself, able to recover the team one time, lost them again, and then still pushed the squad into, I believe, like a top 3 or top 5 finish there by the end of it, as he was one of those last remaining stragglers on the inside of Dome at the final circle. So,
well, Looks like Loyalty also lost one of their members due to disconnect, so that's very unfortunate for them. But now as we jump on board with Flying High, they're in some trouble of their own. And Neocox, who we were talking about earlier on, already losing his life, or at least he's been downed. He will be picked back up though, so no loss of life here. Instead, a good medic and a great friend can get him right back into the fight. So, as we're looking through things, looks like they're actually still going to have quite a few bogeys around them. 5 hostiles in the area for them. But cutting away from them now, jumping on board with Maycam Evolve. This is a squad that we've been hoping to see some more consistency from. And they've had some strong finishes so far today, but that last circle just not very favorable for them.
Going for the quick jump up here. I believe just for intel more than anything, though, is he's going to go right over towards the tunnel. Also makes it a little bit harder for the Flying High members to take a pot shot and be able to make some impact here against any of the other members of Maycam. So Flying High, like we said, they're in the kill leading position right now, so probably want to try to press on that in order to get more KPs, but don't want to be absolutely aggressive to the point of risking their own position on the inside of this match. So we'll continue to see them hold on to that high ground they have just outside of the tunnel. And it does look like that one member from Loyalty unfortunately did find himself fully disconnected there. Bin now out of the match entirely. So Kings is going to be the only one left standing, as Invictus also got isolated out in a fight that seemed to have just happened. He still has the banner recovery time up, and it's pretty recent. So Kings unfortunately going to be left alone here. And on the Gibby, it's not going to be so easy to hide. So we'll see what he's able to work towards.
Yeah, and it sounds like there's still some shots coming at him as well. So we'll see if somebody tries to pick up that KP, or he'll be able to possibly get his teammate's banner. We'll have to stay on top of that one. But oh my, it looks like Team Brave Soldiers are once again traveling through the circle. These guys are not scared at all of taking this tick damage, and you can't exactly blame them with this first ring. Not exactly the worst thing in the world, just when that damage starts to stack on top of itself in battles is where things can possibly go wrong. As for Elite BR, though, jumping on board with them, looks like things are fairly in good straits. Not too many things going on. They do have alpha intelligence on top of them for the time being, but they truly don't even know that they're there. Instead, we'll have Elite BR start hopping across the way, but as soon as that happens, they'll end up getting spotted, and ZRO will start raining down on top of them. But again, nothing really going on here, just mostly just pot shots, as we've been talking about before. But as we switch things up, TBS have actually rotated in behind AIE, and this battle has just begun.
Luki here trying to get some spam out on the R301, and his teammates will be attempting to do the same exact thing. They have to be careful. The Team Brave Soldiers, one of the squads that has really failed to make any sort of impact on the scoreboard, despite really trying to, especially when it comes to the way they've been aggressively playing the game. We'll see if they can finally make some impact here inside of this fight by being able to knock out their opponents, but it seems as though at least to start, pressure's worked. They forced their opponents back. Not to the degree where they're going to be able to catch them, though, is the issue. They're on the run and still running as we speak here. So we'll switch back over to Flying High. Trabs trying to survive that encounter against an enemy Gibby, but it's not going to work out. Neocox as well. Nowhere to run for him. So Flying High will find themselves eliminated just out of the money, unfortunately, to theirs. They're going to get 16, so no placement points for them.
Unfortunate for them, but TBS looking a heck of a lot stronger now, and you have to feel for them. A lot of these finishes just not going their way, especially that last match where they had so much travel time inside of the circle, but immediately when they get back in, they're taken down. But now they have to try and deal with Elite BR, who have everything in the kitchen sink right now at their disposal, and they're chucking it at their opponents. Already have the Gibby ult down, the EMP coming through as well to remove that shield, and you can see the damage coming through from Jinx's ult. Oh man, already have a crack, and this is a signal for Elite to try and engage. They can see them trying to bounce back and forth, still inside of the circle as it's closing in now. So they'll be able to control this space and try and keep this opposing squad back off, and that's going to continue to deal tick damage to this health as well. So TBS once again caught up on this circle, and once again caught up on this travel time.
Yeah, TBS gonna be forced out of the circle, but remember, still in the fight here, still in contention, and that's what's important at this point in the game. Elite BR trying to hunt at least a few of them down here, but as you can see, they've got a bit of pressure working onto them themselves. They'll be able to counter that pretty quickly by cracking the shields off the player that was firing the shots, but just a couple seconds later, with the battery redeployed, they'll be able to put that pressure, keep it right up. The problem is those players do eventually have to swing in against Elite BR here, as the circle is quickly closing. out of the favor of the players holding that high ground position. So that's exactly what Elite BR is waiting for right now, waiting for this jump. And ooh, that's going to be a nice spot there. The SAR catching one of the players sitting underneath of this balcony they've been playing from, unable to follow that through. The scan's going to come out for one of the members of Team Brave Soldiers. This is all them trying to put the pressure onto Elite BR right now.
Yeah, but the positioning is just so strong for Elite BR at the moment, able to stem the tide that is Team Brave Soldiers, and the bravery in the name not truly showing just yet as they haven't leapt into battle, but you can't exactly blame them based on the positioning. Lucky finally finding a lot of damage, and Elite BR seemingly in trouble, but the bails them out. Jinx with some great plays as they're actually taking it to TBS. That will be the squad wipe inside the ring.
TBS failing to make that impact yet again. Unfortunate, as they get themselves into a promising fight there, but unable to capitalize upon it. At very minimum, they do deal some serious damage, though, as we can see members of Elite BR still going down. The SAR and Jinx both getting knocked out there and fully finished off now by Tremanger, as it's Fenrir that seems to have come in for the third party to close out on these players that were already heavily injured for the TBS fight.
Yeah, and this is the biggest problem for quite a few of these teams that we've seen, as opposed to Fenrir, Paradox, Singularity. It's just choosing these fights and the timing. It just was so back and forth at this moment here at Countdown, where we truly didn't see anyone engage till the very last moment when they truly had everything on the line. They could just push forward and simply wipe the other squad. But it took so long that Fenrir had been rotating into the area. They heard the gunfights and simply walk on over, clean up shop, and walk away with a few KPs of their own, as well as some new mats. So again, Fenrir just showing exactly why this squad consistently finds these high finishes.
Got quite a few teams stacked up right now. I believe this is Lava City. We've got quite a few of them sticking around here, Fake Love included. Mayhem Evolve sitting in here, as well as at least, I think, two other teams potentially going to go to battle with each other when they are going to be forced out due to the circle closing. And one of them seeming to try and throw the aggression out now, is that EMP blast is going to explode onto Fake Love. No immediate follow-up from any of the teams in the area. It does look like the pressure may have been coming from Maycam, but can't confirm that at this point in time. And well, they're going to get an EMP thrown right back at them at the same time here. Seems to affect Rico's squad a little bit more heavily, though.
Yeah, well, we'll have the batteries to bring themselves back up. So looks like just an ult exchange in between these two. So won't have that to take down a Gibraltar shield or anything like that if they do end up tangoing, at least for right now. But jumping on board with casual gamers and DK on the Revenant. Legend that we don't get to see too often, and a very cool one at that. Love this guy's character design. But he's going to be throwing these curses out and trying to silence his opponents, but he's already been seemingly downed, not able to get the death totem out, but he will shut down Swagga. And that's a really big deal here for Phoenix, as he won't be able to get his shield out just yet. But as soon as I say that, delay is over and delay no longer, but he won't need to use that utility either. Instead, back over to the Spitfire dealing damage, but Phoenix is being pressured from multiple angles for the time being. Still haven't had to risk the shield all as of late, as they still have pretty strong positioning around these containers, but still have to be worried about where this next circle is going to go. They're going to start pressuring inside near the vault, but doesn't seem like there is anybody home. So they'll be able to make it and actually have some strong positioning. This is, again, a sign of a very strong finish for them.
Some good stuff being built up here for Phoenix team as they try to hold on to the second place position, which is now slightly at risk after the previous couple of games here. Fenrir, awesome. Having some trouble pushing in, specifically against Breezu, to try to swing the corner around him. A lot of very tentative poking from our remaining teams here as we are coming down to some of the final circles starting to close off. And as you can see from this third-person POV right now, there's not a lot of cover for these teams to work with. Fenrir's spread out between like 3 major different positions right now. Trumanjar having to go all the way across this open field and counting himself lucky that he doesn't find himself engaged upon by Breezu or another member sitting in this area. Zillash potentially going to suffer the same thing, as he's really got to go for the mad dash too. They do spot one of the members of Loyalty. I'll correct myself. The only member of Loyalty that is still in this game, as Kings has been hiding out near the dome for the last 10 minutes or so.
Well, Paradox still in this one as well, and Kings still out there over yonder, way off into the distance. This guy is trying to play for a top end finish here right now for his team. Loyalty desperately needed after what we saw earlier on. And finally, in the map back up here for you guys, we can see Loyalty, or at least Kings, we'll just call it Kings for now since he is alone, dealing with Paradox, or at least just trying to find some damage for now. But oh, looks like we're gonna have a possible engagement inside of the tunnels up here, as well as some things popping off outside inside of the buildings. Jumping on board with Fake Love Black, they've already lost a member. Lusquin's down. Ezreal's going to try and reposition with this Wraith form, and he's gonna hop away as well to re-shield. They've full on lost 2 members as he's actually being chased down. He'll get the shield out, but he'll be able to reposition instead. This is just not what Fake Love Black were trying to find, and it seems as though actually won't be seen. More engagements going on inside of the same building. He finds great pressure. He'll be able to deal a lot of damage to one. Can he possibly clean up multiple here? He goes for the reposition instead, and the Wraith form pays off once again.
He still has full control over this building, too, so he's going to be able to fall back, shield himself back up. No batteries from what we can tell. Of course, he's just stuck on cells, but that's not too much of a problem. The team that he engaged against also has pressure coming in from Paradox and Flow Nocturne right now. As we can see, Nellis down in Cafazin. Teraday trying to work his way into this building here, constantly cracking his opponents. Just 2 shield cracks in a row as he's tried to swing for these, but unable to get enough where they feel justified to actually go for the straight-up push here. Maybe that'll be changing in a moment as we're coming down that last minute before round 5 closes out. This circle actually probably not going to pressure too much here. Everybody already seems to be pretty well contained on the inside of this one, so it's the next circle that's more than likely going to force out most of the fights, if not all of the remaining fights that we'll get in this map.
Yeah, and honestly, it's going to be pretty crazy as to how this breaks down, just given the buildings being here and how this circle's favoring a handful of them. So multiple of these levels are going to be taken over from the squads, and we'll have to see who can possibly win out when the engagements are just so congested. You're going to have utility flying around everywhere, everything from grenades to ults to everything, and I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of crossfires going on, as well as people are trying to find all these KPs in those dying moments. But as we can see, actually have our good friends on Singularity with a great position on top of the building. Azazel, excuse me, I've been saying his name wrong here for a little bit. Azazel actually with a strong position here for Fake Love Black at the top of the apartment complex to our right hand side. He's playing this air conditioner quite well, and with that positioning he won't have to risk all too much. But speaking of risks, Phoenix are risking it all as it's the pressure now onto Crimin, and they'll take him down and finish the fight.
He wants to way over in the cliffs over by Dome as well. I caught a quick glimpse of that when we were in the third-person POV. So there is at least one team that's going to have to try to shuffle in as the circle starts to close. A lot of pressure going on in Singularity on this rooftop. But the good news is from the rooftop, they can dominate a lot of the pacing from this point forward. That is, of course, until that final circle starts to close in just a couple moments here. Oh, that scan, though. 10 hostiles. I think that's literally everybody except for one player just getting found out by Fenrir right there. But also drawing the ire of all 10 of those players, too, is they're all going to be notified. And more than likely, they're all going to be able to see where that came from. So immediately they start jumping on Fenrir. That scam may have ended up being a pretty big mistake here. Zoltam already gone down there. 2 other players taking pressure as well. Rico from Flow Nocturne in the meanwhile being forced back after getting his shields cracked. The same for his teammate on the Octane as they try to quickly recover. And at least in Maestro's case, tries to play for some high ground so they can actually finally return some of this damage. But no, you still have Singularity on that higher rooftop just across the street. And that's going to keep Flow Nocturne from doing anything aggressive here.
Well, Fenrir with some problems of their own. Zoltam's been down, but they'll be able to assist. They get him back up. He's still alive, and he's desperately going to be needed for what's going on around them currently. These gas tanks need to be down and helpful, at least for any engagements that are soon to come their way. You can see how desperate this is going to get here in these dying moments of Game 3. So, this match so far, actually quite slow when it comes down to these engagements, but it seems like everything going to be made up for when it comes down to this moment. On this apartment complex going to be our last bit of play. Singularity with the top floor control yet again. It seems as though they're trying to go back for back-to-back inside of these matches, but we also have Dynamics here, which is a squad that we haven't been seeing too much of, but definitely happy to have them back inside of this top 5.
Yeah, potentially going to be a new challenger trying to vie for second, if not first place here. Singularity is able to route their way in. What's up?
It's still 6, actually. I thought we were actually down to 5 at
No,
this point, but still 6.
we got a couple single team stragglers working their way across here at some point here. As you can see, we are down 2 players from what would normally be a full 18 of 6 squads left. Now 3 players as well. Azale from Fake Love gonna get knocked out, and that fully finishes off the Fake Love squadron, as he was just a single straggler left standing. They're gonna take 6th place in this match.
Well, that leaves us down to our true top 5. Got the cart ahead of the horse there just a little bit, but that's just fine, as the action hasn't actually popped off. Jumping back on board with Singularity, they're going to continue to just rain down terror on any squad that tries to peek out. And the bad news for a lot of these squads is there's a lot of open windows here where they can see where everyone's moving, what door they're going to rotate out of. It's just very troublesome for a lot of these teams, but you can see, oh no, this is going to get so constrictive. And here we go, folks. Fenrir up top, everyone trying to take the sky left as they rain down into the Gibby shield as well, and it's damage dealt back and forth. Brand's trying to fight his way back into the circle, but he actually makes it. Crimin dances across as well. Elysium dealing strong damage, as it looks to be Phoenix who actually take it once again. We thought Singularity had it with the top ground, but Phoenix with the reposition from that sky elevator there, able to get it all done. Some fantastic stuff coming out from them once again.
Phoenix surprising us once more. They're being the kind of underdog in the final fight. Didn't even realize they were still in the engagement because things were getting so close. Once more, Singularity as well, having that great top position to seemingly close out on all of their opponents, but the circle just not playing into the favor they needed it to, as it forced them off the rooftop. At that point, all the other 4 squads knew that they were up there, so they became the focus for everyone trying to scramble and get themselves into what was remaining of the safe circle at that point in the game. Take a look at the replays here, see some of the chaos that happened and how Phoenix were able to leverage themselves. I believe that's their 4th win, tying what Paradox have now as well.
Yeah, and honestly, I didn't think it was going to be done with the consistency that we saw yesterday from Paradox, but they're no longer getting those favorable circles like we saw yesterday, where we continue to see Geyser and Skyhook be the areas, or excuse me, Trials be the areas where we saw those final circles go down, and they continued to win on those engagements. But this time around, no matter the positioning that they can get, they simply can't find these top 5 finishes that they should be desperate for, and that's got to be just such a daunting task at the moment. But given that last match and given these results, it looks like Fenrir will be biting for first. I mean, I don't even know how to explain it any further. No matter the engagement, even there you can see 0 cover for these guys, and they're still able to win out. I mean, granted, they were able to take over the Gibby shield there for just a second, but that immediately dissipates as soon as they wipe the squad, and none of them go down, where all of these other squads are losing member after member after member. Again, it's just this constant in a sea of variables.
Yeah, so Fender finding some great impact there. Once again, I believe finishing off in 3rd or 4th place, and more than likely with a lot of kills too. So we're going to check out the scoreboard and a whole lot more, folks, when we come back for another break in just a second, as we get ready to jump into game number 12 here of the GLL Spring Masters. Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the GLL Masters Spring. We are getting ready to drop in yet again to our 12th match. We're coming close to the end here, nearly at the halfway point for day 2 and the 3/4 point overall here. But let's take a look at the standings, the results from match 11, and where we sit for all of our teams getting ready to jump into game 12. 23 points being gained there for Phoenix team inside of that matchup. And of course, for those who haven't been joining us previously, they're currently chasing the #1 position, which is held by Paradox Esports, who only got 4 points out of that one. Now, I believe Paradox will still be in the lead with these 2 scorelines, but Phoenix are going to be getting very, very close.
Yeah, but getting knocked out in 11th, that is such a big blow to this lead. And you can see Phoenix definitely closing the gap now within 20 points, within arm's reach of Paradox. And it's crazy how quickly this has disintegrated. We also see Singularity and Fenrir breaking that 3 decimal point.
I mean, Singularity and Fenrir, man, have been vying for each other's positions for the last 3 to 4 games in a row here, and they've been sitting within a single point of each other for pretty much that entire time also. So that competition is going to continue to heat up as some of our other teams continue to try and make impact from the back of the pack here. But as you can see, as we move past that 4th, 5th, and 6th place position held by Loyalty and Flow Nocturnes, the points really start to drop off there, and it's going to be hard for any of these squads to try and vie their way back into the standings now unless they have a really barn-shattering match where they're not only able to place high, thinking like 3rd to 1st place position, but also try to capitalize with 10 to more kills to really get a good 20-30 point game to try to make the difference.
Yeah, if any of these, lower 15 teams, I would say, want to try and bounce back and actually have a good placement here, it starts now. This is the end of the train, end of the line. You have to start here, otherwise you're more than likely not going to have enough points available to try and make it back. So this match right here, a very big deal for the rest of the day, folks. But it starts now. Match 12 is here, and we are hopping out the dropship.
Let's take a look here. We'll be following up Phoenix 2 yet again. We'll more than likely loop back over towards our winners on Phoenix 1 when we get the opportunity to. Phoenix 2 has been struggling, unfortunately, to make impact inside of this tournament, while their corresponding other teammates have been doing a fantastic job and have been really the topic of discussion for us in this entire pregame segment. But let's head back in, taking another look at them and seeing what they're going to get themselves up to here at the beginning of the match.
Well, Phoenix 2, a team that has actually cracked the top 10 immediately, going for some ring info early on, and you can't blame them. This is exactly what you should be doing. And hey, we have yet another new one. Let's keep it new. Let's keep things, nice and twisty. I don't like straight storylines. You know what I mean? I want to be caught off guard by what's about to happen. And that is what Epicenter has for us today, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't had one of these rings throughout all 12 of our matches so far, or 11, excuse me, but our match will actually end in the top right for the very first time.
Epicenter is going to provide a lot of vertical opportunities for teams, but also a lot of vertical dangers due to those big cliffs that surround it on top of the very, very small amount of cover, in my opinion anyway, that sits on the inside of the actual structure. So should lead to actually a lot of teams getting themselves forced into fights in a pretty chaotic chain of events when the circle starts to close in on that. But obviously, we've got a while until we get to that. We are keeping up with the rest of the action that's going on across the map here. More importantly, trying to see if any of our teams are going to collide with each other. And it does not look like that's going to be the case here. Everybody just holding their own landing zones pretty respectfully where they start to move deeper into the map, try and close in on that circle.
Well, looking at the lower half of the map right now and just the sheer amount of people outside this ring for the time being, it's going to be a mad dash here in a little while, but still have quite a bit of time on the timer. This time we're not going to have truly any early engagements, Blue, and we've kind of been getting used to this, at least for today, and having these early fights and honestly getting those through onto that next ring where we see people starting to just simply fight because the map is getting smaller. But as of right now, that is not going to be the case. Although our leaders are also transitioning immediately into the circle. We can see Paradox right now could possibly have a nice flank going on here onto Team Brave Soldiers, as well as I do believe, actually, I don't exactly know which squad this is with Crimin on. I can't remember the name right now, sadly.
Yes, that's Kryn and Aimbot's squad. I think that's Cerberus, if memory serves me correct. I don't have the actual Wikipedia page up in front of my face right now, so can't recall from exactly trying to pull from memory, but pretty sure that's them. Either way, they're going to end up running into this two-man setup from TBS, so Luke is going to have to try and group up with them. And Paradox, well, they want nothing to do with this fight. They're going to go right past the train tunnel here inside of the train yard and work their way over into the next quadrant, closer to Fragment. Now, TBS, well aware of Dynamics, excuse me, that's who this is. My bad, not Cerberus. So Dynamics, taking control of this area, more importantly getting the high ground over their opponents sitting further to the south now, and it seems like they're probably going to take a fight now that Dynamics actually have this high ground to play off of here and potentially jump on a Team Brave Soldiers, or maybe not. Maybe they're just going to keep running here, as it seems circle positioning is more important for our teams this early on in the game.
Yeah, Dynamics is trying to fight for that top 10 finish, try and find some more points and get inside the money. Again, the day isn't over just yet. It all starts now, and I think that's why we didn't see as many early engagements as we saw prior, as everyone was still willing to risk it. But now is going to be the circle that forces everyone into these engagements. We can see currently Team Brave Soldiers trailing behind quite a few squads. Singularity with a possible engagement here, as well as Paradox actually gatekeeping the area. So we'll see how this breaks down as we fly into this area and see what goes on inside of this one. Well, actually, no,
Singu-
they're actually quite a bit of ways. That's my
yeah,
bad. I
yeah.
thought they were a little bit closer when we were all the way back there.
Perspective, you know.
It's all about perspective, right?
Check out those meter ratings on the top. I think that helps us a little more. But either way, yeah, not going to see a fight broil anytime soon between those squads. TBS still hot on the tail of their opponents here as well, that they almost collided into back in the train yard, but still kind of keeping a respectful distance so as to avoid really being crunched into this. Fenrir as well, right on the edge of our initial circle, way to the north. And they might have a couple players from Singularity end up diving onto them. Whether either team's going to be aware of this is still yet to be seen, but it definitely seems like a collision is all but inevitable between them.
Absolutely. As we hop in now with Singularity, they're now being pressured. Nice reposition here by the opposing squad. Another scan comes out. Brand's taking a lot of heat, and he decides to back off instead with the Wraith form. But now it's on to Elysium, who's actually been down, just can't find any close positioning near his teammates, and they're going to pay the price for it. Oh no, it's all of a sudden down to Brands, and it's actually Fenrir who are providing the sauce. And oh no, Singularity out so early on. Fenrir have to be happy with this, knocking out an opposing squad.
Yeah, Singularity, one of our champions from just 2 games back, now goes out in last place here on match 12. Another large fall from grace for a team that was looking to compete. And remember, they're in contention for top 4 right now overall on the scoreboard. So that is going to be a massive loss for them, having to take 0 points inside of this game, as far as I can tell.
Well, now Dynamics, team that we were seeing earlier with the reposition, now into the fight here. An EMP goes out from the crypto drone, and it's all hands on deck. Great information for them. They know the positioning. Gibby trying to get in close and personal, but Paradox with a third party as well.
The G7
raining down with this G7, dealing so much damage.
Seen like no play with this gun so far in the tournament here, so finally getting to see it used for the first time and finding some great impact on Artini's hands there, cracking at least a couple of the players and keeping them contained to the inside of that supply truck as they try to make another play to the outside and try to push more than likely into Paradox's current position. Paradox, though, seem to have had their fun. They've spotted another target and they're on the move back into better pastures now.
Yeah, the G7 is the spammer's rifle. We'll just put it that way. It's the one with the very deep magazine. You just send as many shots as you can possibly fit through that barrel and just tag them as many times as possible. A very consistent rifle, I will say, though. And I still think that it definitely has a place in a lot of different plays. But it's just one of those things where, you know, if you find a weapon that's better than the G7, you're probably going to drop it. So it just depends on, obviously, exactly what you like. But still, nobody's going to play the longbow or something like that. We never see that. So
taking a look here at Maycam Evolve, who's been the first to make it over here towards Reactor, flying high as well, potentially close to an engagement. I don't think that that's Paradox they're looking at right now, but we are kind of in the same quadrant of the map currently. More than likely another squad that flying high has a vision onto, though. And with the Kraber in hand for Wolf here, might be willing to take a shot too, with his teammates going up pretty quickly there to act as the frontal squadron in this assault.
I don't know exactly if he'll be wasting too many shots in that, given the range right now, and if he can consistently land those. Only has 10 bullets, but he's going to break a shield here. 99 down, and that's exactly what they needed to do in this situation. Neo Cox has been down. They need some assistance. Wolf will hop down, or at least throw down, excuse me, his ult launch pad, trying to assist the squad, trying to get them to safer areas, but doesn't seem like they can actually work their way out just yet. Instead, they'll try and assist Neocox down low while Wolf continues to try and stem off all of these teams in the area, but truly only having to deal with one for the time being.
Right, so Wolf continuing to hold top tier positioning here on side of this tower that he just managed to zipline himself to the top of it. He's going to spot the retreat from his opponents, but can't really do anything about it. You saw him having the lineup there for a second, but as Stokes is mentioning, a very limited ammo here on the Kraber, so not wanting to waste any of that if he knows he's not going to be able to crack the shot properly. In fact, it's a lot of damage sent back onto him. It's going to force out Phoenix kit usage before him and the rest of his teammates are going to have the capability to try to push forward. Some pressure going on to Phoenix too, as well as they're trying to move from their initial position closer to Refinery from the looks of it, but flying high right on their tail, potentially with the capability to engage if they're not careful.
Yeah, and this is the issue with this area when it comes down to epicenter and refinery as well. Is like there's just so many open areas. You really have to try and fight around these buildings, and it can provide a lot of long ranges of sight when those people are manning those top areas. So when you're trying to rotate away from the circle and find some safe harbor, you're more than likely going to be seen, and there's going to be a lot of shots getting sent at you. So that's a big task for a lot of these squads now as we hop on board with Alpha Intelligence. They've actually been pretty consistent throughout the day so far inside of their fights, but now they're taking a lot of fire. And what a reposition from Scanner, trying to play off of the chest here, but not working out for him as he will be down. Bucks with the res as Elite BR actually hop inside the ring here. They're ready for the fight and they're taking it to him. So consistent right now, and they'll be able to take them down as well. Fantastic stuff here for Elite, and they'll get the res on Razor.
It's going to mean they'll be back in full strength here for the remaining, or at least, well, time between this fight and the next fight. Can't guarantee they'll stay alive past that, obviously, but hey, at least they're going to have the full strength. The same can be said for Flying Highs. They're able to win out their engagement. More than likely was the fight against Phoenix 2 if they were running into the same team they were looking to run into a moment ago, but there's a lot of teams in this area, so it is likely they would have ended up colliding with another one instead here. Keep on still in the very tail end of that engagement, and hey, we'll get a good view of that now. I was correct, it was Phoenix 2 that more than likely got knocked out just now by Flying High. We've also seen AIE, Tempest, and Singularity. So unfortunate there. Singularity going out last place.
Yeah, not a single kill point, not a single placement point, and that's not the words that you want coming out of the commentator's mouth when you were playing very well today. So as of right now, they're going to have to sit on the bench and see what they can do for the rest of the day, but that's going to give the opportunity on over to our other squads that are near the top of the scoreboard, like Fenrir here, who have strong positioning as well. And they've been playing so strong with this Caustic throughout the day, given how they've been playing these buildings. Let's see if they can stay on top of that. But as this ring continues to constrict, all of our teams actually well within rights to get to that second circle, not even the initial one. Everyone already making the break towards this second ring.
A lot of movement here. A lot of teams realizing how open this final circle potentially is going to be and how important any sort of cover positioning that they can play for is going to be as we get towards this final circle. Maybe the difference between life and death, and more importantly, between the number of points you're able to actually realistically accumulate in this final circle when teams are eventually forced in. And from that, moving in, catch up with Novak's squad once again as they're right around the corner from Team Brave Soldiers, making it almost into the money yet again here. Team Brave Soldiers suffering a lot of very unfortunate runs trying to make impact on the aggressive front, but failing to do so somewhat often, and now going to try and see if they can sneak their way in here past Kafazin and the rest of the members of Casual Gamers, I believe.
Well, we've had some things transgress here as we hop on board with Loyalty, currently inside of an engagement of their own, and it seems like they're out on the winning side. But as soon as I say that, a lot of damage onto Bin. They're trying to play off the shield as strongly as they can. The Mastiffs winning out the situation, or at least able to find a down, but Phoenix all over the situation once again. These guys seeming to come out of thin air, and it just always at the last moment when it matters most, able to pick up every single one of these KPs. And again, Blue, these guys just so dominant when it comes down to these third parties.
Definitely for Phoenix here, showing up and definitely making the impact on the kill front. We talked a lot yesterday about how their kills were making up the difference, despite the fact that we weren't seeing them make high placements consistently going into some of those earlier games. They were able to always pick up the frags and nearly top out the scoreboard in the frag department for I think the first half of the games we played yesterday. Then, of course, starting to see them pick up the 2 wins as well, left them in that great second place position. And so far, they've been able to continue that play style pretty prominently into the majority of the matches we've played on day 2 here so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we hop out onto the map here, getting an update on the situations once again, and a little bit of a fold from what we saw earlier. Fake Love Black have actually went away from Epicenter and have moved up into the top right area, where now we see Team Brave Soldiers actually getting an engagement of their own with casual gamers inside the building. So we'll see how that one breaks apart. We could also have Without Name rotating into the area for the possible third party, but they could also be tagged along but with by antisocial aimers. It just depends on how they want this to break down. Blue, you noted about this area and how little cover it has. And with these amount of teams trying to rotate in and trying to get these third parties for the KPs, this could truly break either way.
Things will be a little bit better if they're able to successfully shift the circle over into refinery, which seems to be the path we're kind of going down right now. But Epicenter, as you can see, Without Name literally hiding behind a loot crate right now. That's the level of cover these teams have to try and aspire to on the inside of Epicenter. And this is considering the fact that any one of these teams could jump in from above on them at any point, as well as there's a lot of high ground to play for inside of Epicenter here too. Without Name know that. They know they can't stay here forever. And even worse, they know that that circle's closing in at any moment. So they're going to move, but they're potentially moving right into Team Brave Soldiers, specifically Asleep and Suda, waiting right around the bend. They've got to be ready to take an engagement because here it comes. Asleep going to jump onto these players. They're going to try to capitalize, but actually they're able to hit pretty much no damage off of that. Utility being deployed here as the nades are chucked out to try and hold back the rotate from Team Brave Soldiers to the inside of this building, but it's going to be too late. They still have full control of it. Now the opponents sitting on the other side of the fight are going to have to try and find a new way to make impact here as Team Without Name is struggling to get out of this situation. Here we go. The fight's been committed. TBS has the angles to play off of here. Mastiff holding the corner, and nobody from Without Name wanting to go for an outright swing to the inside as they know what that'll mean more than likely for their help pool.
Well, it's truly a war right now amongst these three squads, a battle of attrition as they hold down the doors. These close range weapons worth their weight in gold for the time being. Panic, a lot of damage dealt to him. He'll be able to med kit back up. Doesn't seemingly have a Phoenix kit, so he's going to have to go down to cell usage here. They really need to win this next engagement and try and get some more mats for him. Otherwise, these late round fights will be so very difficult. So hop on board with casual gamers, though. They have a full-on view of what goes on down below them, but they'll just simply wait out the timer. They truly don't have to do all too much for the time being. They can simply sit on their hands, wait for this engagement to go downstairs, and try and get the third-party action going on. And as soon as we say that TBS is in on the action, they've already lost two people, though. It's down to Sauda. He's trying to fight back, stuck in between a rock and a hard place, and he does it. But oh no, in comes the third party as soon as I say that, but it was to be expected. Casual gamers casually picking up the frags.
Yes, casual gamers having the position to try and move in and execute the third party for that entire time, so it was bound to happen. Unfortunately, the opponents on the other side, Team Without Name, just not realizing it, not ever getting the info, and had no way to fend themselves off. At the same time, going over to antisocial aimers here, they're going to get a whole loot box jamboree on the inside of this building here, as they'll be able to wipe out another squad as well. Looks like Fake Love's corpses sitting on the ground there, as well as at least one member from Paradox. In fact, I think the whole squad just getting wiped out there by antisocial aimers.
Yeah, very unfortunate for them, but antisocial aimers finally making their presence known. And this is a squad that we were starting to see a lot yesterday. A household name, it felt like, in a lot of the battles that we ended up seeing, but not so far today. Finally able to crack this top 10 and find some success here, but not so much success for Phoenix team as they're taking way too much damage. This finish is looking like it's not going to happen, but worse, he breaks into the ring. He's able to at least save it for right now, but now seeing what Cerberus is up to, they're in a fight of their own. So much damage coming onto them as well. As Annabelle Jay-Z's already been down, Yuri will have to reposition to try and net himself up, but they'll actually be able to clean up their teammate or at least pick him up. But no, Fenrir actually on top of things. It looked like they had created enough space to at least be able to med, but not the case. Fenrir once again able to make it out.
Fenrir thriving in the chaos with both Phoenix as well as Paradox more than likely being out of this match. And that's assuming, of course, that last player from Phoenix did get caught trying to rotate as it appeared was happening. And that is going to leave that is going to leave Fenrir in a really good position to potentially get some massive point gains and once again close the gap between themselves and the second and first place teams. It's not too far off at this point. They could realistically take second place away from Phoenix with a good placement here. Anti-social aimers and the other squads, though, want it just as badly as like I talked about previously. A lot of these teams that are sitting below the top 5, even below the top 10 right now, they need a winning game with 20 to 30 points to make enough of a difference to put them back in the ratings and, more importantly, put them back in contention to be in the money for our tournament this weekend. So everyone's hungry. There's a lot of opportunities for teams that haven't made an impact yet. Elite BR is another one of those as well. So everyone's going to play this very cautiously and very seriously here.
Well, now jumping on board with some more squads, we're getting an update on Nocturne's Gaming. Exactly what's going on with their situation. They actually have Elite BR right on top of them, and not only that, but Fenrir across the way, who have seemingly found yet another squad to try and fight. We'll see what they can possibly muster, or if they'll simply wait it out. But now it seems as though they've noticed the sheer amount of enemies around them, and already starting things off strong is Zillage. They're gonna hop into the circle, get in down low with the reposition instead, and play for the window.
Not really too secured in the circle, but they do have that little pocket inside of the building, which left to swing to the inside and out again in order to make proper impact. Elite BR has a view on a whole lot of players from this position they have on the inside of Refinery here. Going to try and play that to the best of their own capability, as once again, we will see the defensive bombardment go out and the helmet being smartly tossed around between teammates too in order to capitalize on the cooldown reduction from it. Whoever needs it just seems to be getting it for the time that they need it. So some good juggling going on in the utility there as our remaining squads try to vie for any little inch of control they can play off of here.
You can see how this is going to break down. It looks like the positioning so far for Elite BR quite strong, but don't forget about Nocturne's Gaming. This right here could be the bread and butter for this squad to win this out, especially understanding where Fenrir are. But as soon as I say that, we get an update on what has happened with Casual Gamers. They've actually came out of the train tunnel and have found some pretty strong positioning at the base of this building. Flow Nocturnes still down low, right underneath Elite BR. No one truly trying to challenge as of late, but you can't exactly blame them. But now down to the last 15 seconds, Blue, things are about to get a little crazy.
To close into a very small circle at this point. Will still be some room to play off of here in some safe harbor for that extra minute or two between now and the final circle closing, but certainly getting into the final moments of this matchup here. Everyone trying to make an impact. The port for Casual Gamers to put them into better positioning, possibly in an aggressive position against Fenrir here too, but that's going to lead to Worst going down. That was the last player alive for Phoenix in this game, so they're going to take home 6th place as he just gets knocked out right there.
Very unfortunate for them, but we still have quite a few squads trying to fight for control here. Elite still with so much space as well. Have to worry about Zoltan and what he can possibly do over on the other side of this bend. Still have to worry about Nocturnes down low, and do not forget about our friends Anti-Social Aimers as this ring begins to constrict on all of these squads. You can see going back and forth amongst these 4 different teams. Brian and DK now forced to move out as the Gibraltar ult comes down. In comes the EMPs as well. It's going to wipe out so many shields for all of these different members, as we actually have the hard engage inside. Elite hop in. Fenrir close on the chase as well. They can smell the blood in the water. Elite BR down to 2 members, but just too much damage coming through onto all of them. It's just Karazar left as he'll be taken down. Fenrir now with the top control, actually winning things out. They found their own dome, some own protection, as they're seemingly winning out all of these engagements from the high ground. The Massive so strong, they're going to be able to take down one, but it's traded out amongst the 2. But Fenrir too powerful with the last 2 remaining members, and they'll be the champion for this match.
What a solid match from Fenrir there. It seems the team's taking the bold approach or paying off in huge dividends, not only with these wins, but also right to claim positioning earlier than a lot of their other opponents, as well as all the KPs that come with that aggressive play style. Great stuff from Fenrir, having a bit of a slower start to the matches on day number 1, but so far making really consistent impact on days 2's games, including the most recent win here on the 12th match.
Yeah, some fantastic stuff from them, and this is probably the most highlight reel-esque match that they've had here today, consistently finding these frags throughout the entire thing. And that's a really big deal, especially given what we saw from these other squads. Fenrir had such a strong game plan coming into that last circle. We saw them with some strange positioning inside of the building, but it all made sense as soon as we saw how Wraith was able to escape with that portal, get them the reposition that they so desperately needed at that moment in time, and they end up winning off of that fantastic play throughout these last handful of circles.
And once again, top tier or top positioning is going to pay off there for Fenrir as they just clean up here against some of the last squads alive due to the fact that they controlled the rooftop. And thankfully, no one had a sniper perch or anything like that on them from a faraway cliff to punish that and send them off that top. And then rather exposed positioning paying off due to the claustrophobic nature of that final circle, taking us into a winning position for them. And once again, putting Fenrir in a spot where they could realistically take over second place past Phoenix. Phoenix only getting 6th that time. Did see a couple winning fights go by the way of Phoenix, so they may be hanging on there as a result of their KPs. But all of that and more is going to be found out in just a couple of moments, folks. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, game number 13 of the series is coming up here for the GLL Spring Masters in South America. We are back once again, ladies and gentlemen. We're 75% of the way through this event here as we continue on with the action at the GLL Masters Spring. My name is Blue. Joining me here on the cast is Stokes. Let's get those stats up on the screen very quickly as we are just about ready to jump into our 13th match here. Only a few more chances left for these teams to make impact, and boy, did Fenrir make the impact there in that last matchup. 22 points going their way with the first place in placements and 10 kills in the match.
And not only that, but a huge shakeup inside of our top 5 squads. Antisocial Aimers getting in there, Flow Nocturnes, Elite BR finding some consistency today as well. And then the household name we've been talking about all day, Phoenix team, rounding out that top 5, at least finding some consistency inside of those placements, although they have tied things up with Paradox inside of the wins.
Definitely going to be the case, but have they tied them on the points? Not as of yet, but they're so close. Only 6 points behind Paradox now, as they had arguably their worst performance yet back in game number 12. So we're going to have to see if Paradox can rebuff their lead in the 13th game, or if they're potentially about to give it up to either Phoenix or Fenrir. Realistically, Singularity is also within catching distance of Paradox at this point.
Yes, absolutely. We still have 4 matches to go, and if Singularity can find consistency inside of their placements, they'll do just fine. That's the biggest thing. Look at Singularity across the board here. 60 kills. Paradox only has 63. The only difference here has been simply positioning and what they've been able to do inside of those top 5 finishes.
You can see the placement difference from those earlier games, but Phoenix has once again taken over in a pretty remarkable margin here in the kill department, at least when compared to Paradox. Fenrir, though, also right behind them as they have been firing off on all cylinders so far in the matches that have been played in today's matchup. Like I said, a bit of a slow start for them, unable to really make the impact in our first 4 to 5 games, but as we got into the later ones in day 1, and definitely here in day 2, we've been talking about Fenrir a whole lot as they have suddenly been showing up a lot more often inside of our top 5 and top 10s.
Yeah, and not to mention some tragic stuff that we had inside of that last match as well. Well, unless you're a Fenrir fan, obviously, then we saw Fenrir actually end up taking out Singularity extremely early on inside of that last game. Or excuse me, I believe it was Phoenix that actually ended up taking them down. But either way, Singularity knocked out as the very first team. Not a single kill point or a single placement point either. That's a huge deal for these guys as they are still in contention for possibly first place.
Now, imagine the difference if they had managed to make it forward as well, if they were able to push their way deeper into that matchup and make some decent placement. They'd be sitting right next, more than likely, to Fenrir as well as Team Phoenix 1 right now, since they're sitting within just those couple points of closing in against Paradox and potentially taking the lead away. We have got more and more teams being added to the pool that can realistically contend One more good game coming out from Singularity, and they are right back in the money, right back in the play for contention at first place there. So a lot of teams going to be trying to race for the points in these final 4 games.
And this is exactly what we were hoping for yesterday, Blue. Right when we got off the cast, we were talking about how we didn't really know what Paradox could do today. That was the biggest thing, is all of yesterday it was Paradox, Paradox, Paradox. These guys are so incredible, the positioning, what they're able to do. And now today, they're not even able to find a singular win. These guys have fallen flat. It's like you left a soda out on the counter for a little bit too long. They need to try and get back into this one. What's the big game changing here? Big game changing thing here for them? Personally, I think it's the rings that's really been punishing them.
The last game specifically, yeah, got caught on a rotation from what I could remember. Just absolutely isolated in the middle of the field. Nothing they can really do there about that one. They just have to try their best to win the fight, and unfortunately, didn't end up going their way. But in the matches prior to that, they've still been having good positioning from what I've been able to tell, especially the ones that ended up working their way towards Dome, and then I think the one of the other matches that we had work itself up towards Trials as well. They've had the advanced positioning to play off of, but they haven't been able to capitalize upon it. They're not coming nearly as close to winning their fights such as they were in yesterday's matches, and they're getting challenged successfully by a lot more teams here. It seems as though the other teams in the field have caught on to their strategy of trying to take that aggressive, or rather trying to take that safe positioning early on, and are trying to get aggressive upon them. Now, Fenrir has kind of stolen their thunder though, because they're doing a lot of the same stuff and it's paying off for them.
Yeah, granted, it's not in the exact same fashion, right? Like we're not having, the cool caustic plays like we saw
Yeah.
yesterday and stuff like that. But still, I mean, the thing right now with Paradox for me is that no matter what happened to them yesterday, they came out on top in every single engagement. I mean, if you guys did not watch match 8 yesterday, you need to go back and watch that. That was some incredible stuff from them. They're completely surrounded by people. There's people under the floorboards. There's 3 squads outside. They're the only squad that is actually held up inside of this building. They all have to rush outside over this fence, and they still win the engagement. It just makes zero sense how these guys could continue to find success with those kinds of things happening around them yesterday. But today, just can't seem to find that mark. And I'm hoping we can see them try and bounce back and reclaim this first place with a little bit more of a gap inside of these last 4 matches.
If not, the aggression that we've been seeing out of some of our other front leaders, such as Phoenix One, are going to surmount the overall scoreline from Paradox inside of this game. Paradox has to make an impact here and now, where they are going to fall. To be fair, temporarily, we still have the other 3 games as well, but are going to fall temporarily out of the first place that seems to have been all but assured for them up until the games got started today, and suddenly issues were starting to show. Obviously, great play in the first game, but after that, sixth place, following it up with I think somewhere in the like the low teens is where they got knocked out in that previous matchup too. So things are getting better here for Paradox. They're getting worse, and they have to be the team to turn the tides if they're going to maintain that lead. Otherwise, the other squads we've been talking about here, Singularity, Phoenix, Fenrir, they're going to take over, and the question just remains: who exactly will be the one to take that crown?
Yeah, especially if we continue to get these weird top fives like we saw in this last matchup. I mean, Elite BR once again cracking that top five as well. As long as we have these lower half teams continue to place high, that's taking points away from what could be possible winners here today. So they need to make sure that they're on top of these rotations and they're finding that cover. That seems to be what is plaguing a lot of these people right now, is that the early fights are not happening. There's just so much congestion when it comes to moving to these next circles, and a lot of people just simply running into each other.
Now, aside from that, we still have other squads that, while they may not be in the best contention to try to play for first place at this point in the tournament, can still try and make a concerted effort to get themselves inside of the top 5 where we have prizing available for our teams. Fake Love Black comes to mind as one of those squads that had a couple of technical issues to their own credit in the initial games yesterday, so really didn't have much of a chance to get started off too well, but has been rebounding occasionally, nowhere near the degree that we saw them do so back in the ALGS South America Cup that happened about a month ago, where they actually took the win overall in that 8-game series. But we could still see them pick up a couple more decent placements with a solid 5 to 10 kills in order to push them back maybe somewhere around the top 5. And there's a couple other squads that are sitting in very similar territory to them that will more than likely be trying to accomplish the same exact thing over these next 4 games.
Yeah, some exciting stuff still left today, but we'll have to get into the matches to figure out the rest of it. I'm still very excited for this last set of 4 that we have here, folks. As Blue was saying, still a lot of teams trying to fight their way into that top 5, and they're within arm's reach. That was something that, as of yesterday, we didn't think could possibly, well, not possibly happen, but it was something that was definitely up in the air. Let's just say that. And as of right now, things have begun to pan out a lot more in the favor of, well, everybody at home, because it is becoming so action packed. I simply cannot hold on any longer. We need to get this next match going here soon because I'm just so excited.
Yeah, we do apologize for that slight delay. Anything started, guys. We had to remake the lobby at one point, so that's why we haven't been able to immediately jump into the action here for game 13. But should be pretty much just around the corner as we're getting prepared now. From the info we have, the teams are loading in, assuming, fingers crossed, of course, there are no issues with that. We'll be jumping into the 13th map in just a second and seeing which of our teams will come out on top. Who is it going to be? The story's evolving. We talked about it yesterday. Everything was about Paradox as well as Phoenix, but we're getting some true new contenders into the mix here now between Fenrir, Singularity, and some of the other teams that have been lurking just below our top 4 here that are going to try and sneak in for the win in these past couple, or in these last, excuse me, couple of games.
Yeah, and please don't forget about my favorite either, Fake Love Black. I mean, they're coming back, Blue. They're coming back, I'm telling you. If they make it to the top 5, I will be a happy man. But remember, it was quite the sad story for them yesterday where we saw them not able to compete in truly those first 3 matches, but now finding some consistency and a chance to crack that top 5 and make it into the money. But that's enough said, ladies and gents. We finally have match 3 ready for you guys as we jump on board with Fenrir.
And we're our current champions from the previous matchup, finally getting a win after constantly poking their way into the top 10 and top 5 matches, especially today, but have been unable to actually leverage the positioning needed for an outright win. That changed in the last matchup due to their great play from the top of a rooftop on Refinery, where they dominated the final few circles and picked up, I believe, 10 kills over the process of doing so. Dropship is despawned, everybody on the ground. Let's take a look and see if positions are once again being respected, as generally has been the case for the previous 13 games, or if we're going to get a little bit more aggression here.
Yeah, once again, no tree engagement standing out anywhere, so that's pretty cool. And we're probably going to have Insomnia be pretty happy about that one. They more than likely had nightmares last night from that going on. So looks like our circle for this matchup is actually going to be on Harvester, which is one that, again, we haven't seen just yet. So a new wrinkle for a lot of these squads to deal with here.
Will be the case. We try to see if any other interesting rotations are going to evolve over these first few moments. Either way, the close in on Harvester, I believe we've already had one match work its way towards that zone. The previous matchup, can't exactly recall who the winner from that one was, but I've already seen teams play this out previously. Paradox more likely going to be happy about this circle, though, considering they've, as Stokes had been mentioning, has been struggling to find decent positioning due to the circle not playing into their favor, especially on that last game as they had to go all the way up towards Epicenter. This game going to be a lot easier for them as they can pretty much take their choice here, assuming they've gotten the 2 survey beacons they need to figure out that we are indeed going to be drifting in the direction of Harvester.
This is going to be favoring a lot of the squads that we've been back and forth and hovering throughout the day and mostly yesterday. I mean, down near the bottom of our screen, or at least over to the right, we see Loyalty here. We still have Insomnia down at Tree. We have Flying High as well as we have Tempest all the way down at the bottom. And I do believe that over to the right hand side here, we actually have, I'm trying to see where JC was. I'm trying to remember. I have it on my hand, or I have it on my hand. I have it over here on my notes. I'm trying to find him really quickly. But either way, still a solid squad. Nevertheless, it's without name. That's who it is. That, I always remember it by Panic because he's the only one that literally has his name in all caps.
I'll make you write your notes on your hand from now on. It's
Please don't do that.
It's now illegal for you to use a notebook. That's the way we're gonna play this.
Man, listen, when you're covering these many squads, you kind of got to scroll a little bit sometimes. So.
You also have to keep your hands constantly closed so that the The sweat buildup slowly melts the ink away. You can't read your notes. We get that whole trope going on too,
Yeah,
for
gotta
comedic
gotta just
effect, of course. But taking a look here at Fake Love, who's pretty much got free reign over this little village they're passing their way through right now. No one really in the general neighborhood of them currently, so going to be able to pick up everything for free. They are kind of on the trail of Singularity, but not in any purposeful way here. It looks like Lustman just firing off some shots. However, it seems as though they might want to try to get a bit more aggressive upon this, as there's pings to indicate they might be following one of these teams and trying to jump on them after all.
Yeah, absolutely. Is we're gonna get another overlook on the map here. No one truly in an engagement just yet, except for flying high at the bottom of the map up against without name. Looks like things are starting to go down for them, but Alpha Intelligence have actually popped their death totem, so we could see them possibly getting into the mix here at Countdown, but doesn't seem like they have too many targets around them just yet. Scanner currently trying to find some safe area, or at least a target to tag up, and he'll do so. Not able to break the shield, but at least get some good shots off of that flatline.
Scanor trying to play behind coverage since he already has himself the high ground to work off of. His teammates also trying to get into the fight here as well. Zero, the one that's definitely a little bit more committed to it, down below actually in the fight. He's going to be joined by Bucks in a second here as they're trying to chase down Elite BR and quickly knock them out if the opportunity should present itself. Need to be careful not to overcommit to this though and drift into Skyhook, because there's a lot more factors playing into that part of the map here. Fenrir also over, and if they end up engaging too heavily against Elite BR, Fenrir could easily roll in and third party that, as they haven't even engaged against Elite from what I can tell as of yet.
I don't think we'll be getting that one anytime soon, at least. But as soon as I say that, I believe that's Karazer with the ulti pop here as his eyes go red, the Sharingan's out, and he's trying to deal as much damage as he can, but doesn't seem like he can get off too much. Fenrir are actually going to disengage. They don't want any of the smoke that Elite have to offer, and you can't exactly blame them. Still very early beginnings here inside of match 13, and they're trying to get those placement points.
A lot of people barreling down in a
Oh
Paradox's
man.
position right now. They're going to have a lot of pressure working its way onto them. Novak, for instance, holding in a relatively passive pattern right now. Evolve working their way in for Mayhem as well here. They actually might end up flanking around in the fight that Insomnia is currently engaged in. So we could potentially have 4 to 5 squads all getting involved in a fight here, should they all choose to play for it. But more than likely, they're going to be smart upon that. Paradox as well knows the pressure's on them to perform on the inside of this game. So doubt we're going to see anything haphazard as they try to vie at minimum right now for that top 15 positioning before they even think about trying to actually get those KPs going for themselves.
And they've been so strong in these engagements when they have a strong position like they have right now. So don't expect Paradox to be giving this one up too easily. As of right now, though, as they are held up in here, we do have Nellis with the R301, and he's got the Anvil receiver on that as well. So set up for long range engagements that can definitely assist them. But as you can see, they've all definitely got that secondary weapon for those close range ones as well. The Eva as well as the Massive coming out to play for this squad.
Paradox still holding consistent positioning as long as the circle stays a constant and away from this spot of the map. And that'll more than likely remain the way that this part of the map will continue to play out. Just more passive posturing, a couple pot shots being thrown here. As you can obviously see, Besk has clear vision onto one player, but there's impenetrable glass there. So can't really do much about that except stare and maybe throw on a wave if you're feeling friendly.
Yeah, they're gonna make some friends real quick because they can't exactly shoot each other just yet either. So they're simply gonna wait for this circle and more fights to ensue. And speaking of fights, Insomnia found one, and they're quickly being taken down. It's all down to Gregum, who needs to make the life-saving swoop of his life. Has to try and fight back here.
Big news on the field there for our team trackers. Phoenix team currently in contention for the top position in this tournament is out completely at 16th place. So they are not going to make any point gains on this game and will likely, if not certainly, fall behind from their current second place position into at least third, if not fourth, pending the results for Fenrir as well as Singularity.
That could be a huge problem here, is Paradox still alive and well, and that means they can gain a lot of distance for that first to second place gap. Insomnia now healing up as well, as they'll get back to full HP before transitioning into another area of the map. But so far, this is breaking extremely well for our top contenders. You also saw Team Brave Soldiers being taken out there, which is very unfortunate, especially from how they started the day.
This is another very explosive circle looking at
Oh
how many teams have
man.
got stacked this close to each other here. We've actually got a fight going on way out to the west between Fenrir and Alpha Intelligence as well. Fenrir trying to keep themselves alive in that, and so far seeming to do a pretty good job, but they've got the opponents from Fenrir very, very close to them, using the death protection in order to get onto that engagement there as they tried to hop in with the death totem, but in most cases seeming to falter as they've been all but pushed out now except for one of their players and are looking for the capability to re-engage. But the problem is now they're at a positional disadvantage. They've got the low ground against Fenrir here, so they've got to be careful about how they proceed over these next couple seconds. Fenrir will certainly want to get aggressive now that they know the push off of the death totem has failed.
Yeah, but they've been so lethal when it comes down to it, and that's such a scary factor when it comes to engaging these guys. You can already see the down from Truman Jars. He's going to transition floors. He goes to the staircase instead because he knows they want to try and escape. Look at how this squad is working this engagement. Fenrir just make it look too easy as they clean everything up, and Truman still has his shield for his favor. Nice setup here from Fenrir as they'll start cleaning up all the loot from those death boxes.
So 3 more KPs going by the way of Fenrir. That'll certainly help them to close the gap against Phoenix, if not having done it with those 3 KPs. And all honesty, they could get eliminated right now and they'd already pass them with, I think, how close these teams were to each other. But they're going to definitely want more than that. So we'll talk more about the overall point totals in a little bit here. To work our way to another position on the map, we've got Neo and the rest of Flying High literally leaping their way, flying high, you could say, across the map here as they try to push onto another opponent.
Yeah, sonar detected now. It seems as though the jig is up, but they'll keep up with the aggression. They flying high indeed, as you said, but it seems like speed is the name of the game, but they're looking for the fame as they go down the side rail here. Still have a possibility of 2, but the other squad actually seemingly trying to run away. They don't want this engagement unless they can possibly get the actual upper hand. But you can see Flying High want all of this. They want to try and get these kill points. But again, folks, and Phoenix too, running away here. They don't want anything to do with Flying High.
Flying High just way too aggressive of a team to deal with. Phoenix 2 and the other squad involved in this more than likely realizing that there could be other third parties trying to jump on this as well. Circle is closing. Flying High as well, having a really good win rate when it comes to these aggressive engagements. So probably realizing the team that it is choosing not to want to mess around with that and falling back and away from it. Singularity still holding on strong here after getting silenced out by an enemy Revenant. No actual pressure on them though, so I believe they may have already dealt with the threat here, as they currently have a pretty peaceful part of the map fully under their control.
Well, as peaceful as rifles going off in the distance can possibly be. So Singularity will simply shield back up, get everything set back up, and wait for this next engagement. But they've been looking consistent throughout this tournament so far, so not surprised that they've made it this far. We're 5 squads down right now as we enter the top 15. Hopping on board with Tempest now. Is there an engagement of their own? The 2 Gibby shields down. Close range engagement for both of these squads. We are going to have RCL with the Mozambique, but he's favoring the Volt as of late, or as of right now. At a minimum, still has that as the secondary, so we could see possibly a pretty comical kill come in here in just a split second if that does end up happening. But it seems like this other squad has vacated the premises. They do not want to deal with Tempest.
Certainly not. So Singularity, as we shift back over to them to see what is going on in their camp. To be honest, not a whole lot. They've just been camping out here. Like I said, they've got themselves this nice secluded little part of the map. They're gonna have to move in about 2 minutes here since the circle will obviously push them forward, and they've got another team. This is what we missed out on here, is they're gonna try to jump onto them now. Bifaria, as well as the other players here, trying to hold out on the inside of the building, but Singularity just as aggressive as they hop to the inside. Both Brands and Elysium losing shields, though. Gonna have to try and make up the difference here now. No, 2 of them get down. It's all gonna fall to their Wraith, and no, she can't get the job done either. Great defense from Tempest, as they're gonna be able to fend off one of our top squads and eliminate them in a surprising battle there.
Tempest forced them out of their own Gibby shield here. Almost said hold there for about 2 seconds, but as we immediately hop away from that, Phoenix too finding some problems of their own. It's just down to Monkey. Can he possibly dip and dash around all of these shields currently around him? It's a 1v1 up against the Gibraltar. He finds the headshot, the down, and the kill lead for his squad. Fantastic stuff from Monkey.
Certainly some great stuff from Phoenix 2. The doppelganger squad from Phoenix 1, or Phoenix team, as they've been showing up on our scoreboard here, trying their best to make an impact. This may be one of their best runs yet. Already 6 KPs between just what Monkey has on his arsenal here, or at least on his scoreboard, I guess I should say. We'll have to see how much of a placement run these guys are going to be able to make as well. Haven't really had a highlight game just as of yet here from Phoenix 2, so hopefully we get to see them step up to the plate finally. Insomnia right on the edge of the circle as well, getting ready to potentially jump into a fight, but got another squad moving in after just wiping out one of our top dogs. Potentially going to be running past Insomnia here, as you can see Guifaria, Madmen, and the others right around the corner. They know Insomnia is around that bend, so they're actually going to try to make a sneaky move here and work their way through the train tunnel instead, possibly giving them the capability to hop on this team.
Yeah, that could possibly be an issue here for Insomnia, but they seemingly know the situation. You see the amount of fire coming out from those guys down the train tunnel, but now hopping on board with Evolve. Maycam Evolve. Seems like they have found Fenrir, are currently placed below them inside of the building. No true engagement just yet, but they are trying to leave the area, and they'll do so via Octane ult. Fly right off of the jump pad, right over those walls. And Sano is going to follow suit as well, as they're simply just trying to get the reposition.
Well, everything will stay quiet temporarily as teams are just repositioning, and respect is given since we have a lot of separation between these squads right now due to the complexity of the facility they're currently fighting over. Evolve, though, has to be careful. Very, very close to running into Fenrir there in the distance, so has to make sure not to leap too far to where they won't be able to back up. Elite VR also carving their way in from the north will more than likely jump onto Insomnia here once they're able to figure out their position, and more importantly, how to properly capitalize upon them being in the open. But keeping a closer look on some of our other squads here and what they're getting up to in the depths of the Harvester itself, as this circle really starts to become a lot more claustrophobic for our squads here. And Elite BR just continue to wait out their time on that northwest quadrant, continue to pepper in damage against Insomnia as well. It's actually where the most teams are. We have the least fighting going on right now, interestingly enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like Harvester has limited a lot of these earlier fights as this circle begins to close, simply because of a couple of different factors. Not only is there multiple rooms that they can play off of, but height advantages across this entire area. So you have elevation to play off of, as well as those extra rooms. So this area can actually hold quite a few more squads. As you can see how close in proximity a lot of these teams are.
Loyalty hiding out in the basement right here of the Harvester, trying to leverage their way out of this. They'll have to deal with Maycam Evolve as well as Fenrir upon changing position. Should they be forced out of this, circle may be kind to them here. Insomnia team still in what seems to be a bit of a never-ending poke battle against Elite VR, though, as both of these teams just content to use their ammo left and right to keep leveling up those Evo shields. Evo trading, I guess you could say, between these two teams right now, as neither one wants to fully commit to the engagement this early.
So that's how you actually just cheat the system in Apex. You actually just like
it's actually a pretty smart way to do it. It's like, hey guys, you want to bleed each other's shields until we all get reds? Okay, cool, sounds good.
Oh man, well, we'll see if that develops anytime soon, but as of right now it does seem to be the name of the game, as Insomnia continues to pop shots at random targets, trying to tag up as many people as possible and level up these shields. But now they're taking some damage as well as a Gibby ult in. They'll respond with their own, as it'll be necessary to create some space and get a shield back onto mange, but they're looking quite solid as of right now. Great positioning, as well as since that Gibraltar ult goes down, EVL will actually start an engagement with Elite BR, who is attempting to reposition, but now all of the pressure onto Elite BR from multiple angles inside of Harvester, also up the hill from the previous squad that they were fighting before, and you can just see the amount of people that are currently around this area. This is going to be such a big problem for any of these teams trying to find some space here.
We've reached our top 10. Zilach, though, finds himself what could be a free pick for himself. That first shot of the Mastiff missing, though, and nearly costing him the engagement, but thankfully his opponent never really able to do much about it since he's just completely overwhelmed. That's going to be under CL going down, and I believe the last players alive for Tempest, as they'll get 9th place on the inside of this game.
Well, Fenrir finally finding the consistency they've been so opt to want. They want to try and find some more wins here, as they have been truly the one team out of the three we've been talking about that have not been able to find the consistent wins. They've been able to find the consistent placements, but the placement points between first and second are massive. So the more often they're opt to get those, the better off they are on the scoreboard. Fenrir with the reposition now, and they'll be able to wait this out. Circle doesn't move for another 30 seconds. Don't have to try and progress forward just yet. Do have a possible engagement up the ramp, though, here into the next room inside of Harvester, as most of these squads have finally found, or at least created, some space.
I'm continuing to tick down here. Only 10 seconds till the next closing of the circle begins and forces at least one more squad, if not multiple, out of their current positions. We can see Paradox looking to thrive upon that. They've got a squad sitting just down the ramp from their current position. Nellis going to immediately pop Beast of the Hunt. They're going to check to the outside, though, is the thing, because they will have to eventually move from their current position into the main ring of the Harvester in just a second. They're looking to not only keep themselves alive while they do that, but make sure that this flank doesn't cut them off either. Fenrir, in the meantime, going to get the portal down. That puts them on the outside, but another squad rotates into them at the exact same time. That's going to be Novak's team as they try to work their way in against them. Fenrir holding on strong, but no, losing their caustic here now. The other two still up for the time being, with the downs going in their favor. We're going to continue to see more and more fights devolve here. Zilach trying to get himself back into the circle. The same thing for Trumandra, but no, Zilach gets caught as he runs back into the circle here. It's Trumandra who stayed back, didn't jump into that portal. That's still alive, and he's got an opportunity to potentially get Zoltam up here as well if he wants to take a risk on it.
I think he'll be able to do so as well, as it doesn't seem like, oh no, Insomnia actually have the angle. That's so unfortunate. There's no way in hell he's gonna get out of here. Paradox have also spotted it as well, and they'll clean it up. But oh no, Paradox, they're so worried about stealing the KP that they're the KP themselves. Oh no, Insomnia, and actually, no, wait, it's Elite BR. They're hungry, and Paradox get taken down. Great stuff from Elite here, taking down the #1 squad right now.
Who's still left in this? We may have ourselves a new winner just as of yet here, as Elite BR looking to push themselves up on the scoreboard with another win for themselves. Insomnia is still alive as well. Both of the full squads from that crazy battle we had before, or rather the crazy passive battle that we had, both teams just trading blows back and forth, neither one wanting to commit to the inside of the fight, but all of them making it out. And the third team, Maycam Evolve here. Those are your three champions trying to work their way in on this final circle and trying to get the W over these next couple of moments. Maycam potentially having the inside of the tunnel, could try to make a move up the ramp too, but they'd have to run through the circle in order to properly execute that. So that'll be a big risk that I'm not sure if they're going to want to take, especially with the final circle closing off in just a second.
Well, it's a calm before the storm right now, as Insomnia shield back up. Want to make sure they're at full HP before everything pops off. Jinx with the support of Arcstar here for this art, waiting for that circle to close so he can throw it the last second, see if he can possibly tag up a target. But this is where it all starts off. Maycam Evolve finally cracking this top 3, and they've got to be so happy about it, but the job's not done yet. They want to try and win this here, but seems like it might be difficult. But no, they actually clean it up. They take down Insomnia. They need to get back on top of these shields, though. The materials are so very important. Need health for this next engagement, as the other squad will soon be on top of them. It's Evolve versus Elite. We haven't seen this one inside of the top 2 before, but it all starts now. Elite with the low ground. Razor taking a lot of damage onto that shield.
Gets himself down below, gets the battery off as well, so still maintaining control over the fight despite the fact that they're fighting for the low ground. The problem is Maycam with full red shields, high ground advantage over their opponents. They've got a lot more to play into. Caustic gas grenade works its bounce as well to send these players flying here. Fleo trying to thrive in the air, but it doesn't work out. He'll be the first to go down for Maycam. So far, no trades the other direction, but no, Maycam shuts them all down, and they're going to take the crown here on our 13th game.
Very impressive from Maycam. Not expecting them to take it here inside of match 13, but I guess that's what you get when it's a new circle for the first time inside of the grand finals. Fantastic stuff. And Elite BR also finding some consistency.
Definitely the case. Let's take a look at the replays here, see some of the action that happened. Fenrir started themselves off on that aggressive run yet again, and it carried through for them, as we were able to see over the course of those circle closures, but ultimately got themselves found out in one of those final battles, unable to make the consistent impact that we've been used to seeing out of them. Still a pretty respectable finish, somewhere around the top 5 to top 10, but not going to be enough more than likely to make the difference. Where are our top 3 or 4 going to be is the question, because everybody found themselves getting knocked out there. Fenrir, as we can see right here, they finally got isolated out. Paradox suffered the same fate only a moment later, and Phoenix got knocked out at the very beginning of this game, so they're certainly not going to be making an impact.
Yeah, this ring was truly brutal for a lot of these squads that weren't able to find positioning. We were talking about it before with how Harvester goes with these rings. There's just so much space for a lot of these teams to try and vie for. And it makes it to where there's a lot of people when it comes down to these very constrictive rings. Everyone floods out of the woodworks like rats, and all of a sudden you have everyone everywhere. It's just chaos, John. And that's exactly why we get it down to this final two. They simply were the survival of the fittest at the end of the day.
All right, guys, well, we've got 3 games left, 3 more opportunities for teams to make an impact and push themselves on the scoreboard. Try to take that first place crown. It's getting competitive out there. Stick with us. We're going to go to a short break, and when we come back, we'll have the results for the last match and see just how close we are to having potentially a new leader on the standings. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GLL Masters Spring. We're getting very, very close to the end of our run here. 16 games that we need to play out, and we've already done 13 of them. About to start the 14th here in South America. Stokes is with me once again on the mic. Let's get those stats up on the screen and see who our winners were coming out of that previous matchup.
Well, it was Maycam Evolve Blue who ended up taking that last match for us, and it was actually a pretty interesting top 5 once again. Our top 2 not even making it in our actual second place right now. Phoenix finishing 11, so a lot of crazy things happening inside of that last match. And Elite BR actually on top of that finding some consistency. Fenrir as well. Ending up on the top of the pile, so have to be happy about that one. And here is our scoreboard update for you guys and what is actually going on in the grand scheme of
Oh, they've
things.
retaken it.
Looks like Paradox have created some distance once again, just a little bit farther than what we saw from them with Phoenix the last time.
So nothing moving really inside of our top 4 to top 5 there over the course of that game, but we do see a lot of movement in the 5th through 10th place position there. Fakeable Black failing to find impact, forcing them down even further. Elite BR having a really solid run in that previous matchup, bumps them back up as they'll now go into 7th. Loyalty as well, still around 6 as they've been drifting there for a while. But Elite BR starting to work their way up. We'll see if they can make more impact here, as they were able to get 2nd for themselves, I believe, in that previous match.
Yeah, Dynamics and Antisocial Aimers as well working their way into the top 10. So this is starting to be a pretty crazy matchup going into these last set of games. Very interested to see how this is going to go down, especially with Phoenix and Fenrir and how close they are. Only 2 points, 2 singular points. That's less than killing a whole squad. Separate these two for 3rd and 2nd place.
Even better, these games are getting a lot more unpredictable. We're not seeing the same exact team show up in the top 5 or top 10 anymore. So that means the overall ratings are going to be a bit more of a scramble across our teams here. As you can see, that field, the separation between our 2nd place and even going all the way down to like 10th place, only a factor of 30 to 40 points total now. And before that was just the 1st to 2nd place differentials. So a lot more competition getting their hands into the pot and potentially going to have an opportunity to stir it here if they can continue to make waves in these final 3 matches, which should just be getting started here in just a second.
Yeah, extremely exciting stuff, especially for Paradox Gaming. It seems like today they haven't had the same consistency as they did in our previous, but now let's see if they are up to the task. That is what is on the docket for them. Can they finally get back to form, start having these top 5 finishes, start finding these kill points that are so necessary to separate themselves from Phoenix and actually end up winning this grand final? We'll have to see.
Definitely going to be a big question as we get ready to jump in for our 14th match here. So many other teams still looking to get really their first strike, their first highlight on the scoreboard as well, that we've seen make impact in the past, but have failed to do so here. Fake Low Black kind of just drifting in the middle of the pack is one example of that. Haven't really seen them work their way into a dominating position for a top 3 or top 5 finish, save for maybe more than 1 or 2 times. Other teams as well, Team Brave Soldiers, haven't been able to see them show up really at all here. Still constantly finding themselves getting either out rotated or out positioned by opponents when that first or second circle closes in, leading to a very early elimination for them. And they're not the only team suffering from that fate. Plenty more having very similar issues. But it's time, ladies and gentlemen. The 14th game is live. Let's get into it. We'll start out taking a look at Maycam Evolve, our current champions, as they're about to drop their way in towards Fragment.
A name that I wish we got to say a little more often, but at least we'll be with them for the first part of our third to last match of the day. Maycam Evolve flying on in right now, and you can see these guys actually having a pretty unique claim to the game, as they're not going to be running the Gibraltar, a constant in every single team comp that we see.
No, they're not. In fact, not even going to have themselves a Wraith to play off for movement capability either. They're going to use the Octane in order to do that, on top of the Caustic for their zone control. So a little bit of a different philosophy being taken by them, but as we can see, worked out pretty well for them in the previous game. So no reason for us to doubt them going into this next engagement here on the 14th drop. Now we do have Team Brave Soldiers creeping up in AI territory there. You can see up at the top left by Trials here. Normally, this is AIE's zone to claim. I would guess that AIE is on top right now and waiting for TBS to leave so they can try to capitalize upon that, take them out either as they're leaving or as they're dropping down. The problem for AIE more likely is that they just don't have firepower to fight TBS at this point if they did indeed take control of the lower part of Trials where all the loot is. So we'll have to see how this broils over the next couple seconds, as more than likely these two teams are going to come to blows.
Yeah, it'd be a damn shame if you completed trials and then we simply killed you and took all of your stuff, wouldn't it? That just, oh man, that
I mean,
sucks
it's
so
AIE's zone,
bad.
man. Team Brave Soldiers, they're encroaching on their territory right now. That's the problem.
Yeah, but sadly there's no flags on this play, and that's the big problem. Is that's exactly what's going to go down with these guys. No cards, no refs, just gunpowder and possible intuition from one of these teams. What the scenario has to behold. It looks like we could have a possible engagement as Buxt is starting to fire some shots of his own. Zero as well. We'll have to see exactly how TBS respond to this. As we haven't gotten onto their screens just yet. Trying to exit the area. You guys can see they set up Scanner as a blocker, but it looks like Scanner's actually having all of the issues instead. They've left him out to dry, and Scanner is currently being flooded. Oh man, this is the most action-packed I've ever seen a bunch of arrows be in my entire life. Back and forth with these guys. Zero going down as well. Lucky finally finished up. Buxt, the last one alive, with such minimal HP, you could breathe on the guy, and he falls out of the air like a falling duck right after being blasted away.
Now, Team Brave Soldiers did lose one of their players, but thankfully just into a down state, so going to be able to revive that player relatively quickly, get them back into the action for the next fight there, since they now claim control over Trials, forcing AIE out by landing in that same position as them. All these surrounding areas for loot, such as these towers, as well as these scattered boxes in the general area, will now also be going to them. But oh no, we can see some more people want to get in on this action too. They heard the fire going off. They heard all of that gunfire from a moment ago, and they know, more importantly, the Team Brave Soldiers can't have that much of an arsenal to work with here. So Aimbot Machines team going to try to hop in and capitalize upon that, but they're having some trouble locating TBS as they've looped around to the north.
Well, we'll see if they possibly get a re-engagement here. They also have Fenrir. Decent way down the way into Skyhook, over playing the buildings and dynamics. Currently working their way into Trials, so always be on the notice for that flank. But as of right now, we're more than likely not going to get too many big engagements going on, as it seems as though the loot is still alive and well inside of this area, so Dynamics will at least be able to pick up a little bit of that. But back to that previous engagement that we saw, John, Uh, that did not go the way it was supposed to. That was practically a sellout by my man's team. He, Scanner holding the blocker there, and then they just try and force him outside. It's a good flush tactic, but just did not work out for them. We'll jump back and talk about that a little bit later on, folks, as we hop on board with Tempest. They've got the insurance policy ready to rock, and the Arc Stars fly in.
That's protection there, and they're pretty much immediately going to be flung back to the totem here as they lose the initial engagement. Don't even really get sight on their opponents, unfortunately, due to the grenades being chucked at them. So this is going to be a little bit of an awkward play now for Tempest, already low on HP because of the revive from the Death's protection. Their opponent's going to try and fight back against this and seeming to do a pretty good job here. Guiferi, the only one left, and it doesn't stay that way for very long. Renazera, the rest of Without Name, are going to be able to fend off that aggression, pick up 3 KPs for their trouble. But the problem is they're not out of the hot seat just yet. Flying High is going to jump in here, able to take down JC. There, however, a turnaround here coming in from Renazeres. He's going to be able to take out Neo, but it's still not enough there. Flying High, capitalize on the third party, get the 3 KPs for themselves, and of course, wipe out Without Name.
That's going to be a kill lead as well for Wolf here, and that could be a big change up for them as well. But as soon as I say that, we hop on over to Train Yard, and you can see the amount of action going on in this area. Not only do we have it from car to car in the air, we also have Elite BR holding down shop downstairs, currently across from our friends on Nocturne. So quite a few different things that could go on. Yet another engagement, I do believe, here back on the other way. So looks like we're gonna have multiple life bars all leaving right now, as Rico taking so much damage, but he'll be able to get the shield back up.
Elite and Loyalty still engaged in a bit of an epic fight here on top of the warehouse at the Train Yard. Loyalty actually going to be forced back, thankfully, due to the fact that they have Death Protection active, and a couple of their players were still actively using that. But still, Loyalty possibly going to be leaping back in again. Invictus having yet to use the totem, so still getting one more run at that as they try to hop in. Put the aggression on the members of Elite BR, try to return that pressure onto the members of Elite BR. But not going to be too successful in that regard. The SAR going down. Thankfully, they have this top supply box to be able to use in order to revive their now fallen teammate, getting him back into the fight. But the problem for Elite BR is the pressure is still very quickly brewing onto them inside of this very, very claustrophobic little storage cube that they're trying to play it off of. They've got fire coming in from Paradox across the way. Another squad assaulting them from on top of the warehouse too. There's just no easy way for Elite BR to swing this. They're more than likely going to get pressured out soon if they don't change the storyline here.
Yeah, and that's the big problem right now, is there's so many squads bearing down on top of them, as if they risk the reposition, they more than likely risk their placement inside of this game as well, as that could be all she wrote. But we'll have to see how that will transgress, as they're going to hop on top of this building here that Cerberus are currently inside of. They're having some problems of their own, as they'll be able to down to that charge rifle doing incredible damage to the Fake Love Black members, and that's going to be them out extremely early on as well. 15th squad removed.
Fake Love Black again failing to make their mark here after such a good performance in the last event out of this region. Seems as though this event just not destined for them, as they're going to get another low placing game here in our 14th overall of the series. Same time, Elite BR on a bit of a run themselves after having solid placement and, more importantly, solid KPs coming out of the last match. They want to repeat that same feat here in match 14 to see if they can make a run to get in the money in the top 5. Running into some problems, though, as another squad's going to re-engage with them from outside of the main train tunnel. Oh, and as well, he'll get his teammate back up, but they'll lose the Octane a second later. Rico swinging in with all this damage against Elite BR, bringing them down, and it's the single player left standing, and not for very long in that respect either. They wiped them out. Paradox still hanging in for some shots here every once and again as well. Maestro and Taro taking the heat from that. And in fact, one of their players even going down from that squad, but thankfully going to be able to revive him over the next couple seconds.
Oh, well, this has been truly insane so far, as Loyalty has also entered the area and hence entered the battle. At any moment in time, this could pop off once again, but it seems as though things have gone silent. Kings is going to get tagged up just a little bit, as Flying High transition up this staircase and actually find a nice angle into the tunnel for the train area. So looks like the rail area, or at least going to be manned by them for the time being. Still quite slow as of right now. Nothing truly going on for any of these squads. We did see that reposition a little bit ago by Paradox, but now it's flying high that are simply playing this low ground, not only for the tunnel, but also the lower area here inside of Rail Yard. And just look at this. Look at the amount of squads that we
There's
have
loyalty.
all inside of this like quarter mile. Truly impressive that no one is actually at each other's throats just yet.
Loyalty moving in, trying to take control of Maycam's previous position before they found themselves wiped out just a couple seconds ago. You can see even as they move across the way into the storage crate upstairs, they take some heat. That puts Bin's shields down completely. Kings isn't even able to make it upstairs. Same for Invictus. They're going to have to hide down below, and Bin will kind of just awkwardly hop his way outside of the crate and join up with them as well, as they need to move right now. But the problem is there's another squad here looking to try and take them down before they even get close to escaping. Two of them going to go down. Invictus and Bin both knocked out. Their third going to be worse for wear here as he tries to survive, tries to get some of them back in this fight here. Flow Nocturne, the team that took them down, gonna have to be careful as obviously they've rung the dinner bell here a little bit and are gonna draw the ire of the other team still lurking around Train Yard.
And Flow Nocturne's adding insult to injury. EMP out on squad, as well as grenades and other artillery coming down on top of them, trying to finish up as many of these kills as possible. Those KPs mean so much to this team right now, but they have such a strong position, especially Taro Day on top of the actual rail yard warehouse area. So strong stuff for him, but finally the Gibraltar shield comes out to try and assist this squad that they're bearing down on top of. It's still the loyalty guys, as they'll actually all get out, granted very low HP, so they'll have to med themselves back up before they get into another engagement, as they're trying to find more control here.
Have like an inch to work with here, as you've got Turo firing off of them. Paradox probably firing in a couple shots too if they can find them, but Turo up on top there in Paradox's previous position, going to give himself away and potentially open up new opportunities for any squads below to engage upon them. Aside from that, things have actually gone relatively quiet for the first time in a while here inside of the train yard. And here's the other problem for loyalty, still retreating from that train yard. Phoenix team has the cutoff for not just them, but for so many of these squads. This could be absolutely crazy potential for Phoenix team if they decide to stick around here and camp this at all. But the problem is it's generally not the way the playstyle works here, so more than likely we're not going to see that evolve for them. Singularity as well up here on the north side of this one has a lot of control, and while sitting very, very close to Phoenix team makes this a bit of a tentative engagement for both teams here.
Well, we'll see. And possibly get the information. And oh, it's been giving up so much damage from Phoenix team, but it's not just them. It's the Gibraltar of Suwag. FC's doing so much for this squad. Hops back into a safer area, not their ult, so they don't have to worry about it too much. Just more or less leveling up their owns, all in exchange for a single shield battery. But as soon as I say that, some more damage coming in onto the squad, specifically for Worst Twitch, who's looking worse for wear as of right now. Coliseum trying to make the most of the moment, as he's still on his beast of the hunt, trying to rain down on these opposing squads with this Spitfire. That's exactly what this LMG is so good for. You have that range with that fat magazine as well, and you can continue to tag up people for that consistent damage.
12 squads left, nearing our top 10 here. One of the final matches of this bracket. You can see Phoenix team, after clearing themselves free from that previous fight, well, look for the next option here. They do see that team way across the way. You'll see the pings corresponding to that now. It's moving in through the main train yard tunnel. Could have been flying high on the retreat, but we're gonna catch up with another squad here. Phoenix 2 about to leap into another engagement here. Candy Monkey and Folks, the doppelganger squad for the Phoenix organization here, that's managed to work their way in with both their teams, not just once but twice as well, as both these teams are also present at the previous LGS Cup that happened inside of the region. Either way, Phoenix 2 seemingly backing away from that tentative engagement they had at the bottom of their building and gonna zip line to the outside to get much closer to the circle.
Yeah, and as an organization, Phoenix has to be happy with these two squads. Phoenix 2 finding some consistency inside of this series as well. Granted, it hasn't been to the utmost effect like we've seen like the original Phoenix squad or Phoenix 1. So Phoenix 2 trying to find some higher placement here and work their way up this scoreboard. Currently 11 squads remain across the entire field. And now we're hopping on board with the Phoenix 1 squad, who's currently under fire. And they're taking quite a bit of damage, trying to reposition just to get these shields back up, as it appears as though these buildings are being encamped from across the way.
No safe harbor for Phoenix team and no real cover to play off of here either. Just a mad scramble. And unfortunately, it's going to be a scramble that takes them right into an enemy team as they work their way forward here, immediately having to try and tuck tail and turn away, but they can't get it done. The PK is going to come out for worse with no shields remaining as he pops in for some big DPS here to try and turn the tide against his opponent's team. They're going to fall back now. So Phoenix have won that engagement, but are they going to press the advantage or will they just stay happy with the ground they've gotten? Well, they're not going to have a choice, unfortunately, as pressure comes in from their flank. Two different directions, in fact, working its way against them. Phoenix has to go to the corner yet again as they've got no room to play here.
Oh, and this is so dangerous. If any of these members go down, especially the Gibby, this is just all over for them. They really don't have the cover to play around right now. And as the circle continues to constrict, they need to get him meted back up. But oh no, Yuri, Animal, Brizu, they've gotten taken over by the circle as the gatekeeping going on from this Phoenix squad is just too potent. Yuri taken down, and finally this Phoenix team allowed to leave.
Phoenix coming out on top of another engagement, this time finalizing it as well, not having to escape and leave their opponents still alive. Going to be a bit of an awkward run for them. As you can see, they've got just this tiny little strip of land outside of the circle, and they will more than likely have to cross inside for a moment in order to get themselves back into greener pastures. Singularity, in the meanwhile, cut away from the position that Phoenix had before and are currently looking to drop onto Fenrir here. Since they're in an open field, not wanting to play there for very long, they need to play for control of where Fenrir, is positioned. We're going to see how that pans out. I don't even know if they're aware of the fact that they're over here. They're going to hop over. Sonar detection comes out as they get scanned here. But they're going to start spamming nades, trying to see if they can get some numbers and info going into their ways. They have to commit to this. Like I said, no cover to play off of except for that big blue blocked box to their left. So they have to try and push their way into this fight. But fortunately, gonna be the easiest thing in the world here is they've got fire coming in from that top crate that they just saw Brands took a shot at. Aside from that, at least one other team, I think, also trying to get some shots off onto these guys, and not to mention the squad that's sitting directly next to them here. Insomnia, I believe, holding the line.
Great hold up here from Fenrir, using that caustic to its maximum effect. Singularity simply cannot engage the amount of damage they risk taking, especially with the third-party option here for a lot of these teams. Fenrir right now with the low ground, but as we were talking about before, quite strong in this regard. They've found some safe space to play with, truly not pressured by that third party like we saw with our friends on Singularity. So this could truly break either way. They're simply going to wait on this circle and see how these rotations break off after 15 seconds until that next move here. And we can see a lot of teams currently trying to find some space inside of rail yard.
The circle plays pretty heavily into Fenrir's current position too, so there's no reason why they would need to be forced out. Flying High, who's been controlling the train yard for the large majority of this game, or at least the warehouse part of the train yard here, has continued to do so. And in fact, Phoenix team is now potentially going to make a swing past them. Antisocial Aimers getting some shots out into the open here as well against another squad, forcing out the Jibby Shield from one of those teams. I believe that is Singularity, still trying to put pressure on Fenrir here, while Antisocial Aimers thrives in the chaos here and continues to level up those Evo shields with all of these charge rifles. I think they have two sitting on the inside of this, so that's going to be a lot of annoying poke coming out from the inside of that. You can see Singularity here, no shields to play off of. I don't even know if they have mats to regenerate the shield at this point either, as they've been taking consistent heat for the last entire circle. There we go, at least a couple cells available for Brands, but trying to keep the pressure on their opponents from Fenrir, and it's worked, as both Tremanger and Zilach have gone down there, making Singularity the winner of that fight. But now they need to move forward. They need to take over the positioning of Singularity, who seemed, or Fenrir, excuse me, who seemed to have control over everything up until just a couple moments ago. Paradox still in this engagement as well, still looking strong to hold on to their first place lead in the overall series, firing out with that charge rifle also.
Well, it seems like Besk and Paradox are a little worse for wear right now, as Besk literally only has a charge rifle on his person. So we'll have to see how that works out for them later on. But As you can see, a lot of our squads currently held up inside of the rail yard, but mostly, or at least specifically, in the higher box areas. We can certainly see Krimen and Shika up here trying to deal with Novak and the rest of antisocial aimers. We also have Aimbot Machine and the boys of Dynamics around here as well. That's actually going to be Aimbot joining back with the squad up top. But nothing happening just yet. This is another area that there's just so much space for these squads to play that they'll be able to consistently find some safe space to at least be able to get shields back up. But as soon as I say that, it looks like we have Khalif in a little bit of trouble.
Antisocial aimers still trying to vie for control themselves as we push further into our top 10 teams remaining here. Oh, look at this. A big leap coming in from them as well. Antisocial aimers, or excuse me, aimbot machine squad, going to try to leap their way into position here, forcing at least one squad out and down below here. Novak and the rest of his team trying to work their way in. Singularity, actually, by the way, still has one player in this fight as made it out of the previous engagement from before here. Dynamics going to get melted down, and antisocial aimers looking a bit worse for wear here as well. They're down to just Novak as Kalev and their only other teammate were just eliminated here. That's two more squads gone as well. Paradox trying to jump into this fight. Will capitalize the kills they just got here. More KPs going their way. Paradox leaping down, losing everybody except Artini. And Artini trying to play around here, even going back to his melees. He's going to run out of ammo quite literally in both of his weapons here. Has nothing left to play off of. Leaps out of the fight, trying to look for a death box where he'd be able to get something for himself. But no, OMM is going to be able to take him out from range and finish off Paradox.
Well, that will be a top 5 finish for them, but it's not what they're looking for, especially when Phoenix is still alive, Blue. Granted, it's not very well, but they're breathing, and that's truly what matters. They're looking for that top finish, and just look at the chaos that has ensued around this map. The amount of death boxes currently around Singularity's feet. With the reposition now, as they've been sonar detected, drone detected, EMP'd, it doesn't matter. Everyone is throwing everything everywhere right now. You can see how the circle's broken as well. It's transitioned away from the rail yard, so all of the squads that we saw earlier on will have to leave that area and work their way over towards Singularity. And we saw Singularity with a position exactly like this earlier today, where they found their first win, and it looked so damn good.
Singularity more than making up for that last place finish they had unfortunately befall them right after picking up an outright win, as Stokes had just been mentioning. Now looking to try and make that double if they can get themselves a second, but they've got a lot of powerful players sitting on the other side of this engagement if they're not going to be careful about how they proceed. It's not even to mention Rico is still trying to hold on as a single player, I believe, on the side of this as well. You can see he's down to just a single point of health, and yeah, indeed, Rico here, the only one left standing for Flow Nocturne, as they're looking to sneak in a third, if not second place finish here, see if he can get himself that Phoenix kit to pop up before the circle starts bleeding him down yet again, and I believe he was successful in that respect. So Singularity now spotting him out are going to begin to at least keep one player with watch over that, but the big focus is against Phoenix team, who want that first place positioning. They want to close the gap here. They want to finally take out their opponents. We are going to see that ultimate come out from Horizon here, but it'll be countered pretty quickly by Phoenix as they're able to destroy it. Beast of the Hunt's going to expire. There goes the buff, but at the same time, Bubble Shield goes down onto the ground in order to keep these players alive against the defensive bombardment. Singularity want to use their position at all costs here, and it may cost them in a big way if they're not able to come out on top of this fight. Swinging in here as they're going to commit to the inside. OMM down first. Another member of Singularity falling right after that as well here. Brand's the second to go down. Phoenix have lost one, and ultimately Phoenix will still come out on top, though, as they win the fight against Singularity, win themselves yet another game, and possibly take control of the overall scoreboard here with a win like that.
Oh, this is just getting so dire for the boys on Paradox, and Phoenix have done it yet again up against Singularity, who even had the better positioning given the circumstances, but just could not seal the deal. Phoenix are finding their stride, and they've been the most consistent thing out of these last 2 days. Extremely excited to see where they end up on this scoreboard, but that is going to do it for match 14, folks. Some exciting stuff coming down to the wire inside of Railyard. Oh,
So we get our nice replay up on the board here to take a look at all of the action that unfolded. As Stokes said, Train Yard was the pivotal battle point for every single team inside of this matchup. It's where our teams thrived, it's where our teams died, and it's of course where the game came to a close. Some stragglers trying to fight Phoenix specifically, not even really starting in the chaos that had been in Train Yard for the entire game there. They actually had to rotate their way in from way out, I think in the direction of Fragment there, ultimately taking out one team in the process before having to go on a massive run across that open field of crates to be able to contend on the inside of Train Yard in the final circle, as you guys are seeing here right now.
Yeah, fantastic stuff from Phoenix, and that was the biggest thing for me for this squad is they had to consistently fight their way into Train Yard, and you know, that's not very easy, especially with the amount of people that were inside of that area. We saw so many squads playing the high ground there, everyone getting tagged in as they're trying to make their way into the area with those charge rifles. It's just such a difficult thing to do, but they were the people that were able to actually accomplish it. They were able to get it done, and they transitioned that into a great final ring. Fantastic stuff from Phoenix there.
All right, guys, only 2 games left for these teams to make an impact. We're going to take a very quick break while we get the scores tallied up. And when we come back, we'll show you those scores, show you where the current standings are, and get you prepared for the final 2 drops. We're back again, folks. Sorry for that momentary delay as we worked on getting the lobby set up appropriately with no little issues there. I think we've got it ready to rock and roll. So we should be good to jump into our second, the last match of the day here for the South American region, as those last few teams are going to try and make their best effort here to see if they can push themselves forward. Obviously, we've got Paradox looking to reclaim the first place position on the scoreboard, and Phoenix want to hold on to it. Singularity and a couple other teams looking to see if they can maybe sneak up here and steal it for themselves. So let's find out if any of those teams will be able to accomplish their goals as we're dropping into the map.
The story of match 15 has yet to be told, folks, and we are here to bring it to you on board with Phoenix 2 to see where they will drop. Now, today, day 2 of GLL Masters Spring of the grand finals. We have to figure out who is going to win things out. Again, as Blue just talked about, Paradox still in contention, currently in second place, just losing that to Phoenix 1. And it seems like Phoenix 2 going to be going for the same dropping strategy as we saw the last time. Folks, going to grab this recon beacon really quickly and then transition through the map.
Yep, just that far north landing area as they work their way into this small settlement and then work their way around the map. From there, they'll get the intel onto the circle, and we'll start to see it as well here. It's going to go way down towards the south as we're going to see another circle close itself out near Harvester, but this one drifting a little bit more towards Sorting Factory and Tree, realistically, as we can see that second green circle at the bottom left.
Yeah, and that's something that we have been seeing throughout all of today is that these rings are not repeating like we saw in day 1. Day 1 was all trials and all geyser. Now we're getting things around Dome, we're getting Tree, we're getting Thermal Station even, and we had an epicenter ring as well. So a lot of crazy things unfolding for these squads, and it's going to be yet a new thing that they must consider. A lot of people going to have to consider getting those recons early on here to see where this will develop.
Everybody trying to figure out the beacons here. Insomnia will obviously benefit the most from this circle, or at least the initial position of it, since they'll have control of Tree for free at the beginning here and will more than likely be able to stick around if they are going to want to try and play out their time. Flying High will have a corner of the Sorting Factory to utilize, and other teams more than likely going to gain small advantages as well. Paradox close to it, and at least inside the initial circle once again. A few other teams in similar positioning. We can already see Guifari and Mad Men's squad trying to finish up the loot towards the launch site and more than likely start to work their way over towards Insomnia here if they want to try and challenge that positioning this early on.
Well, no fight for Alpha Intelligence at Trials this time around, but we may have dynamics and a possible engagement here with Team Brave Soldiers as they round about onto Lava Fisher. It seems like Dynamics wants to back up here. Aimbot Machine more than likely on a redeploy right there as we saw him flying around the map. So better positioning now for them as they're trying to cut them off at the intersection. Seems like TBS could be wanting to move forward though and look for these early KPs. I think this is where we're going to begin to see this early aggression.
Luki being the player to try to push forward, but Sheikah cuts him off pretty aggressively. Same for Krim up on the main walkway here. That's going to send him right back to positioning. Luki is going to get knocked as a result of him going down there, and we'll end up seeing how the rest of these fights transpire with Luki getting knocked out there. Kryn, aimbot machine, and Chica looking to try and keep the pressure on to TBS here. Asleep and Suda trying to make up the difference for themselves. Asleep specifically already taking a lot of heat going down. Just that sliver of shield, and oh no, Suda's gonna get jumped on here. We need to get Asleep back into this fight as soon as possible. The death protection going to expire, but the damage is already done. Suda has been pushed into a down state, can no longer assist Sleep inside of this fight. Beast of the Hunt gonna come out here for Sleep, but that is purely to retreat here. And the problem is his opponents are right behind him with just as much speed. They've got the Octane after all. So Sleep is gonna end up going down. Suda will bleed out. TBS will be unsuccessful in their aggression and dynamics. Will reap the benefits as they get 3 KPs for taking them out in that fight.
Yeah, there's the difference between truly being speed and just being somebody that can run pretty fast. And, since Octane is the one that, it happens to be doping, I think we have to point that out, guys. He is kind of cheating the system, stabs himself, runs really quickly. Not the best thing, but either way, still the fastest legend when it comes down to it. And there's no way you're going to be able to get away from him inside of that engagement. But that doesn't make it to where you can't be shot like our friend Zelich here, who will escape with a singular HP, hopping on board with Fenrir now when things are not looking good.
Now, Zilach had literally a single health point from what I can tell as he's going to try to get himself shield celled back up to at least give him the capability to fight for longer. Trumanger, as we were just talking about, in a similar position as well. Zoltan, the only one near full HP, but he's relatively separated from his 2 teammates right now, so we'll have to be careful about how he proceeds. Elite BR are ready for him here at the central structure of Skyhook, and that's going to send Zoltan back. Will he even be able to escape is the question. Elite seem to be letting him go, but trying to get those final couple shots needed to down him off. It just not going to work out. Zoltan gets behind the fence and will more than likely be able to battery back up. There it is. He's back in good straits. The gas grenade going to go down as he's a bit cautious off of that jump of players trying to jump into his position, and he's right to assume that. Once again, losing his shields. Trumanjar going down completely. Zilach, the only full HP player remaining here, and Elite BR thriving upon this aggression. Already downing one player. They'll use the Arc Star to take care of the door and hopefully open up a full kill opportunity as well. Not even needing a full commit to this building in order to make it happen. Trumanjar getting finished off, no longer revivable by any of his teammates. Karazer getting himself maybe a little bit too hot at the main Skyhook structure, loses his shields, does have to rebound for a second to heal, but ultimately Elite BR still controlling this fight and at minimum bleeding out 1 KP from their opponents.
Elite BR dynamic here at Skyhook. They've been so strong so far in this engagement and dominant inside of the fights. Fenrir now with a strong position up top, but they've already lost one of their members, and that's going to be Trumanjar going down early. This squad in contention right now for top 3, so they definitely want to attempt to rebound right now. They need to try and find some way to get Trumanjar back up, but there's a lot of bigger fish to fry, and it happens to be another squad directly behind them. It's Elite BR who end up winning out the engagements as all the death boxes spawn on the floor.
Elite BR pick up the win in that fight. So unfortunate for their opponents on the other side of that too. They had a revive beacon sitting literally on top of the building that they were defending, but couldn't actually make it back to their teammates' position. So Fenrir ends up getting knocked out there early on. Not going to be able to compete as much with the other teams vying for contention in the top 4 right now, like Singularity, Paradox, as well as Phoenix 1.
Well, taking a look back at the map, you can see the mad dash that has gone on for the second circle, or the green circle, whatever you guys want to call it, and just the amount of congestion that we now have here. And this area is going to play out a lot differently from what we've seen before. You can see how it's already starting to limit the amount of buildings that can be played, taking away from thermal station and really centralizing itself around that tree area. And that's going to be a big problem for a lot of these squads, as they'll mostly be stacked on top of each other, trying to vie for more than likely the same rock or the same safe space that they can possibly muster. As for right now, though, getting back into the map, we have AIE on board here with Evolve, who's currently manning the inside of the building, but no one moving forward just yet. Could possibly have some problems now, though, as the EMP comes through, but Bucks saving that shield to the last second will be able to live, at least for the time being.
Sano's position coming in so clutch right there to be able to put the extra pressure and prevent the immediate jump onto his other two teammates. The problem is that jump is still coming in a moment, but they're getting assisted by one of the Phoenix teams, actually, Kalef, able to down Scanor there just a second ago. Maycam have picked up on this. They're trying to press in as well, as their opponents are going to be forced up to the roof of the building they currently control. They'll be happy about that, though. Remember, they're playing with a caustic here, so they can just throw down mines left and right and prevent any sort of aggressive assault. But now they want the kill here, and they're pushing forward in order to get it. Zero getting finished off here. They want to take down the other two as well, but SO is going to have to be careful not to overcommit. Remember, there's another squad still across the way in the same area. So SO will quickly swap out the shield, get himself behind cover here to begin the regen.
Well, it's desperately needed, as well as all that damage is coming down onto them. But now jumping on board with anti-social aimers, is they're in a fight of their own, and they're definitely giving much less than they're getting. Barely any damage headed their way, as they'll be able to reposition and shield back up. But it seems like they have some more targets on the inside of the building, but there's a caustic there, so they can't necessarily dive in just yet, as that Gassel really caused some damage to this squad, and they're not trying to deal with that.
Oh, Kalef just can't make the wingman work for him here. So many opportunities to absolutely shred some of these players, but not making it happen. We'll switch back over to Maycam's POV here. Sano still trying to survive. He's lost one of his teammates. Kenya down into a downstate. Fleo still trying to survive here, as both of these guys will get their heals off as quickly as possible. Fleo just needs a battery, but Sano needs the whole kit. He's going to deploy it. Thankfully, the pressure from the opposing squad has subsided momentarily here, and that may actually give them an opportunity to get Kenya back up as well, which is exactly what they're going to do right now.
Well, seeing what Dynamics is up to now as we continue to constrict this second circle, which actually hasn't even popped off yet, although we've had so many fights, which has made this quite confusing when it comes down to it. Usually we don't see these many engagements when the second circle hasn't even begun, but obviously these last two matches more than likely going to be a lot different from what we've been commentating and viewing from before, just given the circumstances. Once again, guys, a lot of these teams are trying to find success right now where they could not find it prior, and work their way up into the money, and you can see that just purely based off of this early aggression from a lot of these squads. So we'll see if this continues, and if a lot of these squads will be wiped out earlier on here. This could be a pretty early finish if it comes down to it.
We do have another squad that's going to try to lurk in as well against Phoenix 2, currently holding control over the sorting factory, but there's a lot more stories besides that. Back, as well as Kalef here trying to engage against Aimbot Machine and Krim, as they're looking to rotate into that building next to where Krim is currently. Kalef, though, getting absolutely shredded there a second ago, forcing him behind coverage. I'm unsure if that came from Aimbot Machine's side of the fight, but if it did, it was going to be a great opportunity for them to try and dive on that, and at minimum forces back their opponents away from this position and allows Dynamics to swing in and take control of the building they've been looking to get here for the last couple seconds.
Yeah, Dynamics able to actually back off anti-social aimers, which can't be said by many because we've seen them make some really aggressive plays into people. But Dynamics is not a slouch of a squad. We've seen them find consistency in a lot of these matches. It just really hasn't been for the better. That's been the biggest issue, is it's been the lower 5 and not the top 5 when it comes to that top 10. So Dynamics trying to find some more frags here inside of these last two matches and work their way back up into better straights. But as you can see, 5 squads already removed as we have that second circle finally sealed off here. A couple still operating on the outside of the new realm, but quite a few already set up with pretty safe cover inside this next ring.
Take a look at Singularity here as they're getting ready to be jumped on by another squad. Elysium with some great spray on the R99, though, cracks one of his opponents, but he also is going to have pressure. So many arc stars getting thrown at him here. A solid 3 to 4, and oh my goodness, there's 2 more getting chucked down onto the ground as well. Elysium with some quick thinking that was able to dodge out of the way of that defensive bombardment, going to roll its way onto the ground. We do have a bubble to counter it immediately, though, so that will be dealt with in kind. But Singularity will try to keep the pressure on. Brand specifically trying to wrap back out, but he wraps a bit too far into the open, and a third squad gets the initiation onto him, deleting his shields as Elite VR are still trying to press in against this as well, while Phoenix 2 tries to capitalize as third party.
Well, Phoenix 2, a squad that hasn't been able to find too much success so far inside of the grand finals. Now in the top 15, and they have a chance to pick up some KPs here This could matter quite a bit, especially depending on which squad they could possibly eliminate. Currently have Elite down the way as well, exchanging in between buildings, but it doesn't seem like anyone will engage on them. No one having the line of sight. And Phoenix 2 currently worried about some people to our west here. As for Singularity, though, at the top of our screen, they found some safe cover on the cliff side. So they'll just simply wait out and see if any of these other squads will attempt to rotate in.
Elite BR is still working on a flank against Singularity, though, and that's going to be the story over the next couple seconds, whether they'll be able to successfully engage without being spotted, as you have new elements being added against Phoenix 2, as well as Singularity. You can see these shots ringing out from across the way over by Sorting Facility that's not letting either Phoenix 2 or Singularity make any kind of moves against each other right now. Not to mention it's drawing the attention away from Elite BR, has been sneaking around these two teams the entire time. And it's actually Phoenix team, Phoenix 1 this is, that has control of the sorting factory up on top and is more than likely being the thorn in the side for our other two squads.
And honestly, I've been waiting for a mirror match here in between these two teams, and I'll be excited if it happens, but we've got some more action going on for you guys here. Elite BR now in an engagement of their own, and Nassar already taking quite a bit of damage. This opposing squad now pressuring, but Jinx, oh, he's just so much better inside of this one. All this damage raining in, but Maycam, they battle back. They're taking it to the Bloodhound. He dips back and forth. He tries to hop in the air, but Razor can't get it done, and Maycam Evolve are back at it with the frags.
Leah with a really clutch shield swap there that I believe saved his life had he have not gone for it. He's going to be able to pick up his own shield after the fight is subsided there, but that extra 50 HP seeming to make the difference. Taking a look here, Fenrir, like we talked about before, getting knocked out. Elite BR, now most recently gone. Flying High, Team Brave Soldiers, AIE, also gone from the mix right now. And that still leaves a lot of our top contenders, save for Fenrir, in the mix here. Singularity's in this fight. Paradox is in the fight. Loyalty as well could make a run from the backside if they can get a high placement, but everyone else still trying to do their best here and make the impact needed in these final two games to try and push them into top 5 to be in the money.
Match 15 has got to be the most action-packed we've seen this be so far. Again, another engagement, but this time it's Loyalty, and there's no way Ben escapes. He's gone. They're done. Fake Love Black with more KPs now that you could shake with a stick. They're starting to stack things up, but once again, folks, that doesn't mean that everything stops simply because another squad has died. Oh, no. Quite the contrary, actually. Fake
No, it
Love
continues.
Black has now actually completely changed shoes. It's on the other foot. They're not even practically wearing the same pair. Luskin now down. They're trying to rebound here, but there's just so much pressure on them from these utility pieces.
The third-party Karma is coming back to hunt Fake Love Black in a very big way here, as they're going to get jumped on by Paradox. No one in the immediate area to capitalize upon the aggression from Paradox, but we do have Phoenix 1 sitting just below them over here. Coliseum, Worst, and Suag trying to find a way to initiate onto Paradox, but not choosing to do so at this point. Paradox has the high ground. They have their third member taking Overwatch on the cliff side too. Won't be worth it at this point. They just have to let Paradox have those 3 KPs and allow them to respectfully back away.
Oh, this is getting quite dicey, Blue, and honestly, it could be quite spicy as well. It depends on the food that we're making, so we'll have to see how this dish is best served when we get down to it. Antisocial aimers now getting quite a bit of damage off for their own with these charge rifles, and it's Churro with it once again. We saw him with this weapon throughout the day so far, and you can't blame him for picking it up whenever he finds it. It's just so very strong at these ranges, consistently able to hit damage, as well as if you can obviously track your targets very well, you can always hit them with that final blast that can practically break a shield in one go. But as you guys can see, things are starting to get from bad to worse for a lot of our squads, as this circle starting to bear down on TCS. These guys cannot battle out Phoenix, holding them back at the door, and oh no, it seems like Brizu's actually got around them. Can he get it done? No, he can't. Now it's Phoenix that are in trouble as well, folks. It's just too much damage, and Taro Day from Nocturnes takes him down.
It's going to be Phoenix 2 knocked out of the fight. Phoenix 1 more than likely still involved in the action, although DK just downing Coliseum means they are certainly in trouble, to be sure. Flow Nocturne, as we take a look at them as they recover from that very chaotic fight, all these teams trying to move into the next circle, takes us towards Tree for the final battleground in our final 6 squads. It's Flow Nocturne, 5 others trying to vie for control here. And Flow Nocturne, like we talked about, has been hanging around the middle of the pack here. This could be a big time for them to try and make impact. Look who's in the front, though. Paradox still in this fight. Not only that, but they've got control of the most central position by the circle at this point in time. If Phoenix 1, this is still in the fight, that could very well be the battle for control over the bracket currently here, as we're going to see the top 2 teams still remain in contention as we get down to our final 6.
Well, just got our update on Paradox there. Seemingly a Kraber in fantastic position, as Blue was talking about, but they're going to hold on to that Kraber till the very last moment, or unless one of those shots will literally be heard around the world. Only 4 rounds inside of that sniper, so we'll have to see if they can possibly get some downs with that later on when this next circle happens. But now, jumping back on board with Evolve and Singularity, seems like they'll have Novak and anti-social aimers at the top of the hill as well that they'll have to deal with. Kalov going for the reposition here. I do believe that he's got the portal up as well to get them out of this sticky situation.
Now, if I'm reading our teams correctly, I actually believe Phoenix 1 may have already been knocked out. We'll try to get an update on that in just a moment here. Evolve waiting until the very last moment to press in on this circle 2. The team on top, not so much to be the case here. And Paradox continuing to pick up frags since they have central control. A lot of damage going on to the first squad, trying to portal their way into the circle. And Paradox is thriving upon all of that aggression. Another player going down here. Artini trying to finish off the job and make sure that squad can't get anything done, as they'll continue to rain in hellfire on all these other squads. Singularity, as well as Capazin's team over here for casual gamers, getting jumped on. Both of them having to have a bit of a pact here right now, deciding that there is a greater threat across the way. We need to focus on that right now, not each other here, at least until the other ones go down.
But look at this, Evolve up the way as well are quite safe, but no procs, and the rest of the squad actually raining in arc stars on top of them. It does so much damage to the shields, they'll have to back off and reconsider their options. Singularity still fighting right outside of the same vehicle that we have one of our other squads inside of, and it's still Paradox at the top of the leaderboard as well as the top of the area as well. They're playing this high ground to such a T right now. None of these teams can actually flood this area and try and take control.
Singularity on their last leg, it seems here, as their second player just goes down. Elysium, the only one left still standing. Terraday about to jump in here and try to finish off the job. Elysium with the jump to try and get him out of there, and more teams are jumping in on this as well. Flow Nocturne getting overwhelmed far too much there as Artini comes in to finish off the job. Casual Gamers thriving upon that to bring us down into a top 5 position. Casual Gamers, a squad that we saw a lot from yesterday, but have been relatively quiet here today, now looking to finally rock the scene on the inside of our 15th game. Only one more after this for them to try and make impact as well. Caps are going to jump in back onto the inside, taking over that supply truck from the squad they just wiped out here. Paradox as well, punishing anyone that tries to take high ground control away from them. They'll have the mines, they have the gas grenade to chuck out, or excuse me, the defensive bombardment here from Best, as he's continuing to crack the shields off of these players left and right, giving them the lack of capability to play out the aggression against Paradox and really asserting the control that they still have over this zone inside of Tree.
And they're looking so strong right now. Currently 9 KPs sitting on this team, and they're in the top 4. It seems like they're back to form, but Maycam might have something to say about that. 3 squads remain, but a bad move from Insano here. He'll fall down, and he actually ends up getting down from the last member of the other squad as well. This looks like it might be a freebie for Paradox at this moment, but they've actually lost Nellis. This is all of a sudden drastic for every single one of these squads as members seem to die in single file lines. Best, though, staying on top of things, able to play his Gibby shield, and Paradox do it. They're able to sneak by, continuing to stay on top of that high ground, and they win because of it. Fantastic stuff from Paradox in this bounce back.
Nearly losing it in that final fight as well. One of their players going down as they got pushed off of the high ground, that circle closing in. They only had that small little tree limb to work off of in order to still allow them to maintain such high pressure on their opponents. But just when it was closing off and it was going to force them down into a much more even fight against their last remaining opponents, they get the closing bullets into their opponents to shut that one down and solidify a 5th win for Paradox now. Once again, retying what Phoenix team has, as both teams now take 5 games each. But is it going to be enough for them to retake the lead? That is the question. I think it will be when you consider the amount of KPs they likely got out of that game as well. And also considering the fact that we saw Phoenix team get eliminated in one of the second to last scrambles there as teams were trying to close in on Tree.
That reminded me a lot of match 8 yesterday and what they did inside of that final circle as well. Just playing so well and keeping all of that control of the zone as well as just the high ground as well. And that's what I'm saying is like these guys are so consistent when they're able to find this space. I think that the big differentiating factor here this time around is that Paradox wasn't the squad that got caught up in all of this big, bombardment that happens or big storm that happens when everyone's moving towards the circle. Throughout today, we've seen them getting cut off, or rather just bumping into too many squads to handle all at the same time. This time it was a lot easier to actually understand where their targets are coming in from, and they handled the situation overall a hell of a lot better.
Able to assert much earlier control over the final circle's general area, and with that, leveraging it into at least 2 to 3 squad wipes at the end of that game. Mayhem Evolve going to be able to sneak in a second place there as well, as they're continuing to find impact every now and again also. But that's going to close out our second to last match, folks. We need to take one final break, and when we return, we'll have the semifinal scores here as we get ready to jump into our final game and see if any of these teams can make the difference and try to catch Paradox. For the last time today, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to the GLL Masters Spring. We've got one game left on the docket here in South America. One final chance for our top dogs to try to catch up to the #1 on the scoreboard, which more than likely, I'm not going to say because we haven't seen the scores just yet. We'll get them up on the board right now. But more than likely has now gone back to Paradox after that last game. Let's take a look. Keep in mind, this is just for match 15. 28 points going by the way of Paradox. Not only do they get first place, but they got 16 kills. I think that's the highest overall point total for any single team so far yet in these 16 matches.
Well, that's a way to come back and win a game. As you said, the most amount of points we've seen any single team score in a single match, and that is extremely, extremely impressive. Our friends over on Phoenix team finishing in 12th place. So let's see the updated scoreboard, and wow, that gap has surely shot back. 183 to 165. Fenrir bringing it up in third at 139. Singularity with 131. And Flow Nocturnes at 128.
So realistically speaking, this is all coming down to Phoenix versus Paradox. And in order for Phoenix to catch Paradox, they need 18 more points than Paradox gets in this next game. And that's actually, I think, only to tie it, actually. They need 19 more points if they want to actually take the lead over Paradox here. Just keep that in mind as we're going to be getting the scores prepared after that last game and what exactly these teams will need it to achieve in order to catch Paradox now, as their lead and their victory inside of this tournament is now all but assured. Just this one final match is all they need to solidify it. And as long as they have a half-decent finish somewhere in the top 3 or top 5 with a couple kills, they're more than likely safe.
Yeah, and it seems like our top 5 is overall solidified for the most part. Obviously, Nocturnes could have some very poor turn of events if they are taken out very early on into our next matchup, but we'll to see. That top 5, though, looking quite solid from what we've seen today.
Definitely remaining consistent after the last couple of games that we have played out there. The most notable addition to its, or additions, I guess you could say, to the top 5 being Paradox and Singularity and Fenrir, who have been really running the gauntlet today. Fenrir starting it out late yesterday and starting to make their way up onto the scoreboard. Same for Singularity, as they actually took a win here today as well and have had very, very consistent placements alongside Fenrir. Both of those teams very much deserving to be in the top 5 right now with the consistent performance we've been getting out of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to round us off for this match 16 as to what our expectations are. I mean, this is where the culmination of every single one of these matches that we played up to this point comes to fruition, and it all starts now, folks. The final match here for you guys at home of GLL Masters Spring, and it starts off with Paradox, esports. I was doing so good up until that point.
Paradox, a squad that's had massive results so far over the course of our 16-game final. winning 5 out of 16 of those games already, and they still could win one more to go 6 for 16. Now, at the same time, Phoenix, arguably just as impressive, just as many wins as their opponents, and even more kills. But the placings for Paradox outside of the victories have been slightly more consistent, and that's what's allowed for Paradox to make up the difference. That and that crazy last game they just had there, definitely making up in the kill total difference. It might have actually started to pass Phoenix once again as a result of that game.
Yeah, we have not seen that many kills in any of the other matches. It's been truly incredible that they were actually able to pull that off because they were desperately needed it. Such a high kill total when it comes to competitive Apex. So we'll see if they're able to pull something off like that once again and truly seal the deal, taking the grand finals and taking GLL Masters Spring.
Well, we're going to be working our way down to the south yet again for our final circle, and seems to be closing in towards Dome, Sorting Factory, and Launch Site yet again as well. So very similar to what we actually just had play out, just moving slightly to the east, generally speaking, from where we had previously played out. Paradox going to be happy about that. But how exactly does Phoenix 1 feel about this? Well, that doesn't matter right now because we've got another fight potentially brewing over here towards the refinery. JC squad on top of Annabelle, Yuri, and Brizu. But have to be careful here about how they tread over the next few moments, as it definitely seems as a panic JC, Renazera, for without name, going to try and lock down at least one of their opponents on the inside of this first facility. And there we go, the fight begins.
Yeah, and that's going to be Cerberus in this interaction here with without name. Fake Love Black also getting a crypto drone in there, so have some information. It could possibly third party early on here, but oh no, just like that, Cerberus, our last team on the scoreboard and our first team out inside of our final match here in the grand finals.
Without name, going to be able to make a nice impact. Fake Love Black now realize more than likely that that fight has been won as well. So they'll keep their eyes on their backs for the foreseeable future. We still have a lot of potential players brewing over at the top left side of the map, the northwest quadrant there between Team Brave, Soldiers, AIE, Elite BR, as well as Fenrir still hanging out and still have been consistently landing in that quadrant of the map as well. But more and more squads moving away, especially from the generally east side of the map into the circle early on to try and take control of launch site and establish positioning that they can use here. Flying High comes to note there as they quickly move out of Sorting Factory into launch site, potentially to challenge a Madmen under CL and Guifaria here in just a second.
Yeah, that's going to be Tempest Esports that has been going towards the launching site. And don't forget about our friends Insomnia that have been playing Tree as well. It seems like we could have a possible new wrinkle in the plans, though, as a lot of people actually converging onto this area. We could have multiple squads all getting into some trouble here. They're going to have to be worried about multiple angles, and that's the biggest problem. A lot of them more than likely not concerned about that as of right now, as the first ring hasn't even begun. They truly shouldn't have to worry about these teams flanking just yet, and that's why it's such a high concern for me right now. Neo Cox and the rest of Flying High now flying through launch site. They'll find some shots onto a squad on the lower end. Neo Cox taking a lot of damage though in the process.
Flying High going to be forced back out of their current aggressive tendencies as a result of that one. Wolf trying to catch up to his teammates. They're actually the best out of all of them in terms of overall HP, so the least risk to get picked off here as he tries to cross the street. We'll be able to make it unscathed for the most part. It has that passive regen for the rest of his HP that he managed to lose over the course of that fight. So safe harbor established for Flying High. Our opponent's still trying to lurk upon them from down below, however, and that's going to be Tripio. Some of the others from Insomnia trying to work their way away from Flying High. Flying High, though, coming back at it. Did they catch Insomnia? Well, they're going to find Manje in the open and actually melting his HP. That'll take him down. For Tripio, possibly Gregor going to have to come out to assist, but take a look at this. Madman and some of the other squads way up at the high ground as well, going to try and cause problems still for without name here. Flying High, though, moves and melts out the rest of this roster, save for one, and they're going to take a step back once again to heal, just in case that third party comes to fruition.
And that's where that launch pad can be just so incredible. They get the knock and they're immediately in the face of their opponents. Some insane stuff coming out from them, but now jumping on board with Loyalty. They're having some problems of their own, but it's actually being handled quite well. Have great pressure on the door. Nobody trying to step up to the plate just yet. This is going to be Tempest Esports once again here. So we're on board with them, taking quite a bit of damage on this engagement with Loyalty, but both of the shields right now for both squads quite injured. So we'll see which one will possibly falter first. Is actually going to be from behind. Oh no, another angle ends up taking down these members of Tempest.
Tempest taking that extra heat there, bringing them down to only 2, and not sure if they're going to be able to get the revive off realistically here with the extra players that are still trying to barrel down on them from every other angle surrounding the Madmen and Guifaria as well. Gonna try and leap out of danger here, get themselves behind coverage. It won't work out. Their second to last goes down.
Oh,
Guifaria gets caught as well, and that'll be the end of Tempest in this game.
can't tell if Gufaria got down there. I thought I saw that round hit him, but he got a full bar of HP as well,
I think
so
it was
it could
a
have been his
visual
health. Yeah, we'll have to see exactly what ended up happening there here in a little bit. But from, what we can call the the body language or character language of these players, it looks like it's already done and dusted. But anti-social aimers are definitely not so. Is there in a fight of their own, playing off the Gibby shields inside here and doing so well with it. Pop the armors, sliding around and using those wingmans to perfection.
Social aimers bringing out the melee combat here to try to close this down. Flying high, want to capitalize on the follow-up here. They're a little late to the party to try to actually make impact before the HP regeneration took effect, but still, they're here. They want the fight. The problem is that defensive bombardment is going to send them reeling back in the other direction here, possibly away from this engagement completely, as you've got another squad working their way back up here as well. The hop to the inside, and they've got death protection, so they have no problem swinging into their opponent's corners here with no regard for their own safety.
And that's going to be dynamics as the insurance policy is working out, dealing so much damage. They'll just quickly have to medi and then hop back into things. But oh no, Sheikah actually being pressured now. It's the reconvergence from the other squad. They now know where they came from and are starting to try and find some kills of their own. But anti-social aimers actually still with solid control here inside of the actual launching site. They have the control room completely up to themselves. They'll simply be able to shut the doors and start looking through these death boxes. And they're definitely going to need these utility pieces when it comes to the later area of this round as well. They really want to stay on top of those shields and try and get some more throwables.
Phoenix team still in the fight and still in contention for first place, but they have to rely on Paradox getting knocked out early. Like I said, they need 19 more points than whatever Paradox gets out of this game here. So they're looking to try and make an impact, but from what we can see, at least on worst here, no actual KPs going their way just as of yet here. They may have to look to capitalize upon these circle closures instead, because once more, it's so difficult in Apex to find an aggressive engagement you can just take outright without having to possibly consider a third party jumping onto you or any other number of factors that could mess you up in these sort of situations. Paradox still in this fight also, from what we can see now on the map, as they hold the rotation point between Sorting Factory and the launch site.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even the amount of times that you and I have played together and we've had engagements like that, where there's always seemingly someone just waiting around the corner, waiting for you to start shooting at somebody, and they hop in and clean up the entire engagement. It truly is whoever shoots first is more than likely the one to die. So we'll see how that continues to unfold here for our squads. As hey, we have some longbow action for the first time here in the last match, but I'm assuming that's just due to well, the area in which we're operating in right now. A lot of long-range engagements.
See him sleep, just absolutely throwing out heavy rounds here from the wingman, trying to get any damage in that he possibly can. The scan's out as well, but it'll be returned in kind here, so no info that isn't returned the other way. Great EMP initiation going on to every single member of Team Brave Soldiers. None of them able to drop their shields to get the quick swap off there, so everybody gonna have to quickly go for a battery backup. Lukey specifically losing his entire shield cluster and nearly going down, but thankfully gets the battery off just in the nick of time to save his own life.
Team Brave Soldiers now under fodder themselves. They'll be able to get some reconnaissance done. This wingman needs to hit now, Asleep. You can't be missing those shots like before, buddy. Better get that shot percentage up because they desperately need you right now. Lucky needs to heal himself, and he's done so. So they're in better straits as of right now, and that means going to be calm as they try and get some intel back online. But oh no. They've lost one of the mainstay pieces of this area. They need these doors to be able to play off of, but now it seems as though Lucky, the only one truly awake for the time being, he's going to reposition downstairs. gets that shield back up as well. So Team Brave Soldiers playing this one close to the chest, but as soon as I say that, Sauda trying to get aggressive, but it's going to be the reposition from the opposing squad.
Scans constantly coming in. I mean, TBS is getting hit with one every like 5 seconds or so. They just can't ever find themselves in a comfortable position to try and aggress against their opponents here. We'll actually switch our POV, go back over to Elite BR, see what they're getting up to. As they've tried to jump into another fight as well, but both Karazer and Jinx have lost full shields and are going to have to take a moment to retrieve that. The scan's out. They've got the info. Hunter's Spear, Beast of the Hunt going to work its way out here as well for Karazer. He's going to be able to pop that, get the extra buff. Seems to be using it primarily for the movement aspects, though, as well as the vision enhancement, as this team is going to be called back due to the defensive bombardment that's chucked out there, and they're not feeling too keen about the re-engagement either. Karazer quickly wrapping himself over, getting that jump pad so that him and the rest of his team can retake roof control on top of the warehouse here at Sorting Factory.
Well, Karazer getting out of that crazy situation, one could say, and he'll he'll live just a little bit longer as I continue to annoy my duo with terrible puns, guys. This is a consistent thing in our relationship, so just stick with it. Why not? TBS now coming under fire yet again. Lucky losing a lot of HP, and not only him, but Karazer also losing a lot of HP for Elite BR as well. It seems like Coliseum and the rest of Phoenix 1 are starting to look pretty strong coming down to this last couple of circles.
Extra pressure onto Coliseum, though, is going to force him back, but not to any degree where he can't manage it. Should have the mats to play this. There's a couple extra shots actually going to level up his Evo shield to a purple quality as well here. So I think just going for that real quick before he used the battery, smart resource conservation so that he doesn't end up losing out on the 25 HP that he would have been able to get out of that. Elite BR, though, are making some serious impact and some serious inroads in this game as well. We can see them sneak up on the scoreboard if they continue to carry that through all the way into a top 5 or better finish. They're about to jump in once again. They know they've got a squad sitting right around the corner here, and they definitely want to try and take the fight, as you'll see those shots ringing out now. Their opponents seem to want it as well, so they're going to work their way out, try to jump into this fight. Karazer will lose shields first. He'll back up, go for the battery. Jinx can actually jump behind enemy lines here, see if he can make a play, gets himself out of the MP, and he has the cutoff now with a massive, but jumps back up, puts the pressure right back on the Gibby to finish him off. This is Team Brave Soldiers on the other end of this fight, by the way. Elite BR trying to hold on, but suddenly they lose 2 of their squad. The SAR gonna have to try and clutch it out as he leaps into the engagement, guaranteeing him some KPs, but seeming to play more for the KPs than survival, as they're gonna go down with Fake Love moving in for the closeout. Fake Love as well have additional pressure coming in from the roof, though, so they're not out of a hot zone just as of yet.
The Death Totem saving those other members as well, so Fake Love Black will have to wait for the re-engage from them, or possibly an engagement of their own. We'll see which one comes first, but as of right now, they have so much loot around them, so they're going to continue to stack those and get ready for this next fight. Hopping back on board with Phoenix 1 now, though, as they're still biting for first place, trying to take down Paradox, but actually truly in an engagement with Team Brave Soldiers, but specifically Asleep as he tries to run away, and they're chasing him down. They know exactly where he's going to as well. Spitfire out for Swagga, but he can't find any rounds to be able to tag this man up. He's just moving too quickly in between these rocks, but finally a little bit of damage dealt.
To hop himself up the geyser here real quick, but he's already on to HP, and this is the problem. He's the last man standing for TBS. They're simply just trying to play for positioning inside of this game over all else at this point. That circle's starting to close in, though, specifically on Sorting Facility. No longer is going to leave Phoenix in a comfortable position. They'll have to shift away, work themselves through the tunnel to get into the circle here.
That could possibly be a problem. They desperately need KPs as well, and looks like Singularity is trying to pick some up of those as we begin to see this break down. But oh no, they're actually on the receiving end. Elysium can't get away, and it's Phoenix 2 to clean up one of the top competitors, making it just a little bit easier on their teammates, or at least the doppelgangers across the way.
Checking out who we have left in the fight there. Phoenix 2 still fighting, but it looks like Phoenix 1. Trying to see here. No, never mind. They're sitting right below them. I'm blind. Just ignore me there. So they're going to end up going down here. Paradox still in the fight as well. They know how important this game is. Phoenix 2, the pressure coming onto them, though. So much going down on these players here as they try to survive. Just want to fight, but now about to lose it as they're down to just a single player left alive here. The attackers, Crypto, can just sit back, relax, get himself with the Phoenix kit to bring him back up to full HP and really move in to finish off these last players. There you go. Phoenix 2 wipes one squad, but Flow Nocturnes comes right back in to wipe them out for Karma.
And that's one thing to describe this squad right now, because they surely are flowing. It seems to be the ebb and flow of the match for them so far today, continuing to shut out a lot of these squads. But oh no, Fake Love Black with fantastic positioning as they rain down hellfire on this squad. And oh no, that's gonna be Phoenix One eliminated. They can no longer catch up to first place. If Paradox is here, it's surely done. Maycam Evolve, though, in the process, will be able to get Kina back up. But oh my god, what a way for Phoenix to get eliminated. Is Paradox still here? That's the main question.
I believe they are. They haven't had pressure onto them, so meanwhile, yep, they're going to be all alive.
That's
fully
it.
stacked up
It's
as well.
Done.
No KPs going into their favor, but as Stokes is mentioning, that doesn't matter at this point. Phoenix team was the only squad that could have reasonably caught Paradox, unless someone got like 40 kills this match, which, let's be real, that's just not going to happen. So for Paradox here, the victory is pretty much assured at this point. Just going to try to go for the impressive finisher, and we'll see what is left of our teams here as they try to fight for control. And the remaining stragglers try to fight to get into the top 5, into the money. Loyalty, though, probably not going to be too well off in this respect. Invictus, the only one left standing, trying to run away here, but AIE shutting them down, leaving only Bloodhound in this fight, and in not too good of a shape either. Free purple shield, though, will definitely be well accepted, as it won't have to waste a battery on the next effort.
Oh, but the EMP in now, and yet another member cleaned up here. So it looks like Novak and Antisocial Aimers looking pretty solid inside of this grand finals, and this would be a way to actually cornerstone this entire event for them, as they found some semblance of consistency throughout all of these grand finals, but it just wasn't high enough placements to truly crack them into these top end teams. Speaking of which, Maycam Evolve still in this as well, and this has been a mainstay team for today, where we truly didn't see too much from them yesterday. So what a comeback story from them, here to show off their ability in Apex.
Some rough drops to be sure day 1 for Maycam, but day 2 has been a successful one for them, and they're looking to cap it off here with a top 5 finish in the last game of the tournament. A lot of pressure still wrapping around them, though. They are not in safe harbor as of yet. Still need to move, and they need to move quickly into solid position, or they're going to find themselves isolated out here over these next couple seconds. Circle beginning to close and moving us into what should become one of our final rounds in just a second here, is going to push these players closer and closer together. Paradox may have already won the tournament, but still not satisfied with what they have here. We can see Nellis getting quite a bit of chip damage onto his opponent as he continues to try and level up that Evo shield. Really, the only threat here for Paradox is the fact that they haven't gotten into a lot of fights, so overall they haven't leveled themselves up too much. But as we'll see here, the last member of Loyalty going to end up falling. Invictus getting sniped out just after he had downed another member of Maycam involved. That damage may be sticking, though. I'm not sure if they have the capability to get Kihania back in this game, so it may fall to just Fleo as well as the Octane for that roster.
And this is a huge issue for them now. They don't have the Gibraltar like these other squads do to actually have mobile covers, so they'll have to try and risk it if they do want to get their Caustic back up, but that's more than likely, once again, not going to happen. As for Novak and Antisocial Aimers, they'll be playing on top of the dome as of right now. Flow Nocturnes with some pretty strong positioning as well. Granted, not the safest thing if, you know, it came down to OSHA approval. Playing close to the lava is not probably the best thing for your health, but Taro Day doesn't necessarily care about that. He's going to continue to make some pretty impressive plays, some nice tracing here, but not able to get off the damage like he wants.
Just too long range, unfortunately, to work out of that R301 or flatline here. Needs those players to be standing still, but there you go. There's the makeup for him. Definitely pick the R301, man. The flatline just not paying out for you on those last sprays, but the 301, it's hitting big here as the members of Flow Nocturne trying to capitalize on their current position on the inside of this matchup. 4 KPs more than likely guaranteed already. That's only off of the one player we were just looking at. Artini still up here for Paradox. I'm curious if he's alone or just trying to make moves on his own. I believe he's just split off there trying to play for info. As like I said, Paradox have been playing this game incredibly safe, and for good reason. They want to conserve their win, make sure that Phoenix team can't close the gap, and they've already been able to get themselves into that position. EVL Evolve losing one of their last 2 players here, and the third about to go down as well. There you go. Davisano as well as Tina getting knocked out into the elimination of EVL. Maycam Evolve, they're still able to make impact, though, as they get a top 4 finish on the inside of the 16th game.
Three squads,
Oh,
nine
look at this.
people remain in the grand finals here. Our final match in Paradox Gaming. Our winners here of the grand finals want to make it known this wasn't just about the series. This wasn't just about the kills. This was about making a statement here in the GLL Masters Spring finals. They're taking it to both of these squads, but now the ult's raining in on them, and it does so much damage to Besk. He'll be able to shield back up, but it appears that they've lost a member just for right now. They'll be able to shield him back, but Flow Nocturne on top of it, trying to take down our winners here. The Bloodhound sliding back and forth. The Spitfire does it, and Flow Nocturnes are able to kill our winners here in the grand finals. But ladies and gents, that's not gonna matter. Paradox Gaming do it here at the GLL Masters Spring.
Definitely the case. Big congratulations to Paradox for taking the win here today. Shouldn't be any teams that would be able to catch up to them. Obviously, we'll wait for the final results to work their way in on the scoreboard here. But let's talk about our winners from that match for a second. What a game from Flow Nocturnes. Some great aggressive play coming out of them, and they've slowly been sneaking up here on the scoreboard. So with a barnstorming game like that to finish off the overall series here in the finals, that's going to leave the question of where they'll end up overall. Was it enough of an effort to push them into the money, into our top 5 here? Or unfortunately, are they still going to be suffering from the less successful games that they've had and be kept out of that top 5 position?
Yeah, we saw so many squads that we thought would really give it their all, really give it a go here in this last match, and really getting eliminated early on. And quite sad, but you know, obviously that is how the cookie crumbles sometimes. It's just based off positioning, and with all of these new circles today and these new parts of the map opening up that we didn't necessarily see a lot of play centralized around before, there's going to be squads that favor these areas more often, and it just simply seemed to break down that way. But as we talked about at the very beginning of these matches, before we even started the whole dang tournament, Blue, we said it's all about consistency across the entirety of these 16 games, and that is exactly why we see Paradox in on top of this one.
What a cool final circle we ended up having there as well. All these teams just fighting over control of the mini dome right there. So much verticality being played into that one, but ultimately worked out into the favor of Evolve there, as they're going to be able to take one final victory in our 16th game. Paradox taking second place, however, and unfortunately for Phoenix team, dropping down way in the rankings, around somewhere 10th, I think, is where they ended up at. So that is not going to be enough. That's on top of the fact that they didn't really get any KPs out of that matchup either. So it's certainly not going to be enough to make up the difference. And with that said, Paradox has almost certainly assured themselves the #1 position, and by a pretty massive margin too. 5 actual wins, multiple top 2 and top 3 finishes coming out of them. I mean, pretty much every single game from day one, we were seeing them in that final fight or two. And while, yes, they got off to a bumpy start here on our second day of games, they were able to recover very quickly for the final, pick up at least one more win for themselves, as well as the consistent placements at the end needed to solidify their winning scoreline.
I mean, we say a bumpy day, but the day truly didn't even start off that bumpy for them. They still got fantastic positioning. It was just the kills that seemed to evade them in that first half of matches, but immediately bounce back when it matters most. As soon as Phoenix starts applying pressure to them, they simply take the lead, and Paradox are like, okay, we're taking the kitty gloves off. It's time to play the game. Let's get into this.
Yeah, certainly to be the case. Just talking about some of the other remarkable teams that we had playing out throughout the course of this tournament so far. Singularity, another one that came so close to reaching for greatness inside of this, and still likely going to be in contention for a top 5 finish to be in the money here. Just falling off on those last couple of games there, while we were seeing them push for top 3 finishes. And I mean, great aggressive initiations too, coming in with, as far as I can tell, the only Horizon pick inside of this tournament here, really making great use of that ability kit and giving us one of the more unique team compositions that we had over our 20 teams.
Yeah, we saw them get quite a bit of mileage out of that as well. We didn't see them get nearly as much out of the ult. And in fact, I think the only time where we saw it have some influence is when it got shot. So that does kind of suck. I wish we got to see that a little bit more, but that doesn't mean Horizon didn't find impact when she was played. A lot of cool stuff happening inside of this tournament. Honestly, I enjoy the amount of octane that we saw throughout all of this. There, you know, in a lot of these other regions, we see a lot of Wraith play, and I understand why. The portal's so good for repositioning the whole squad and what have you, but Octane is just the pure aggression choice. And that's what I love about these guys is LATAM just exudes violence. Like they just want to get in each other's faces and get those KPs. It's just some fantastic stuff that makes for some great finals circles. I've been loving this weekend.
A lot of movement capabilities coming out from him as well. So as we saw in at least one of our team's case, Loyalty specifically able to get out of sticky situations more times than one, giving you a second chance to rebound, maybe recover your teammates' banners, and really leap back into the fight as well. So some great usage coming out of that legend over the course of this tournament, with many teams choosing to go down the route of the Octane. And we saw him be pretty prevalent in some of our other regions as well that were played out earlier today, both between MEA and our APAC North division. So seems to be making quite a sting outside of the normally played popular regions here in Apex Legends.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have quite a few squads to talk about still, guys. I mean, we can go on for days. We're simply just waiting for calculations here. But I mean, as you were talking about before with Maycam Evolved, you mentioned them for a little bit. These were some other people that we saw popping up throughout the day that inside of that first day, we truly didn't even know that they existed. I mean, they got into a couple of bouts, but that was about it. Today is where they truly made themselves known and were able to pick up quite a few mainstay squads that we had seen performing throughout all of this series.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the final scores. So let's take a peek and let's confirm, make
Oh,
sure our counting was correct as well. Remember, this is just for match 16. So a big upturn there for Flow Nocturnes. Like I said, they've been floating very close to the top 5. So that win, along with the 11 kills they got on top of that, more than likely going to be enough to make up the difference. For Paradox, though, only getting 9 points out of it as they play a very passive game, but it's not going to matter. They still win it with 192 points total, over half of those coming from placement at 110 points and 82 kills overall. The big story, the big change up here is because of the downtrend in that last game from both Fenrir and Singularity. Flow Nocturne's victory has boosted them up into 3rd place as well with 151 points.
Oh, and that is such a tough break for Fenrir and Singularity. They were so deep into the money, and then Nocturnes just races right past him with that final win, claims 3rd place, and claims even more of this prize pool. Fantastic story for them, but you also have to feel for Phoenix and what happened inside of that last match right there. Just could not find the positioning needed to be able to combat Paradox. And the big thing is that we actually saw Phoenix and Paradox actually almost square off against each other, but Phoenix ended up backing off. And I guarantee you that's something that they wish that they could go back in time and try and do once more.
Would have been a nice definitive way to end things, right? But it's not the way it goes. Paradox are the true victors today here for the South American region of the GLL Masters Spring. And that is also going to end our stream for today, folks. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Remember, there's still plenty more action coming in both Europe and North America, as well as some other regions as well for the GLL Masters Spring. So we'll hopefully be catching you throughout the month as we continue to cover it. But for now, we hope you all have a good evening, and we'll see you next time here at the GLL.